intervention.
I want to hit her and fuck her.
Corey.
There is a world as tangible as our own, impossible to see yet unavoidable to sense. A world enveloped by a seemingly unending ocean of forests. Buried deep in that forest, tucked away neatly within a blanket of twilight, lies a quaint little cabin. And in that cabin
is a bunch of guys who's a bunch of bullshitter.
Welcome to Sleepycast. I'm Nikki Cash.
Hey, I'm Jeff. That's all I got.
So Jeff.
Jeff's back.
Yeah, I'm back.
He's back from his long vacation. I'm Chris. That's Corey.
I'm Corey. That's Zach.
Hi, you guys. I'm back from, I was doing some stuff across the ocean doing my stand-up special about all kinds of things.
We have a special guest today, Nikki.
I already introduced myself.
I want to say Minaj. I cannot help it. It just rolls off the tongue.Nicki Minaj.
Our guest today, Little Nikki. Welcome.
Little Nikki.
I love Church's chicken.
Should we say
Little Nikki.
why is another female? And a lot of people saying, this
Nikki.
podcast needs a female touch to it because we're
this
a bunch of disgusting misogynists, and we need.
Needs more pussy.
Needs more pussy fumes. Okay, so let's talk about.
I don't know how to talk to girls. There, I said it.
Finally, you admit
Corey,
it.
this is an intervention.
I want to hit her and fuck her.
Corey, that's illegal. I promise you.
Is that why you keep looking at me, Corey?
Oh my god.
Corey, you're salivating like a fucking monkey looking at a banana.
Monkeys salivate when they see bananas.
Yeah, I saw it before on National
Discovery.
Alright, anyway.
Let's move on.
Topic uno.
First, we should talk about what you do. So what do you do?
I draw a lot. I draw ladies.
You want to go ahead and plug your
Nikki
fucking
draws.
website already?
Yeah, plug yourself.
Plug your fucking website. Get the fuck out of here.
Plug it. Plug it.
Twitter.com/NikkiNax and floorbread.com.
And what do you do at Floorbread? What do you draw? Like
I draw very nice
Pikachu or something?
comics with my very good friend Ferocia.
Ferocia, what's her Twitter? It's at rocketplanet.com. Alright, moving on. First topic of the day. Stage 4 brain cancer. Now, it's kind of relevant. Don't want to be the guy to spoil this.
Hold on. Is there really stage 4 brain cancer?
What's the
Corey, you got it. That's what we're talking about.
How many stages are there?
No.
to brain
Corey,
cancer?
your ears are leaking blood.
Stage 4 is like...
Corey can't hear us.
When you have a
talking to
stroke
him.
and half the side of your face is done.
Corey, you have only minutes left to live.
Why do you
First of
say it
all,
like that?
Do you think when kids have brain cancer, do they think they explain it instead of stages? They're like, listen,
You sound like you're talking to a
they're like,
nurse.
little Billy over there has stage 1 cancer. That's like Minecraft cancer.
Do you think they should?
But you have
Call of
bloodborne
Duty
Dark
cancer.
Souls cancer.
Jeff, you know all about little kids with cancer. You made a cartoon about it. You got ripped apart online, remember?
You have
Yeah.
Call of Duty, Prestige.
Do you think they try to
level
make the kids
2
feel
cancer?
bad by making it sound cooler? Like, you have stage 4, you're way cooler. You beat the other kids.
You're in the final. You're at the final boss that you're gonna lose to.
So they go to school and they're like,
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
stage 4 with my
I'm
cancer.
sorry. All right.
This is already.
Look, what's lighter than Nikki's sister
Listen,
about
just
brain
it's just
cancer?
some light
Oh,
jokes.
it's great. People who have it, they look so happy.
What?
I have a question.
Look,
What?
I knew somebody who died of
May
brain
I
cancer.
ask
so
a
yeah.
question?
Yeah.
who died of brain cancer, Jeff?
If somebody has,
Family friend.
like,
Well, it was a while ago, but
Ooh, wait,
it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all.
Then why do you smile with a big grin on your face?
Jeff, why are you twisting your
I
fingers?
like
or
dark
laughing?
humor.
Wait, what happened?
That's dark humor.
It is.
what happened?
I like making people laugh at the inappropriate, Chris.
At the expense of yourself?
How close a friend we talking?
It wasn't a personal. It was like a friend. It was like a friend of a family member. I was not friends with this
Like,
person.
did he borrow some stuff from you?
Then it's pretty
Just wanted
funny,
to
I guess you're
associate
right.
him that way?
You know what?
Did he borrow some DVDs and he died? And you were like, ooh, I'm
Chris,
gonna get this
Chris
back?
is frowning at me because
That's the only reason you remember him.
this is
He's my
inappropriate.
friend.
I'm not.
I'm sorry. I'm ruining the podcast, Chris.
Look,
you're not.
Off-color.
You can still
You're making
leave.
it
You can
funny.
still go. You can still fix the podcast.
Speaking of off-color, Jeff, you have a big announcement for the show about colored people.
What?
About the colored people.
What?
We talked about what Jeff does.
Colored people.
You had the big announcement. You talked about it before the show.
For the show?
Yeah.
What is this, late night?
Jeff was talking about. Jeff walked behind backstage and he was like, "Dude, colored people. I got a big announcement on the show later."
Wait, color.
Oh, your
people.
eradication.
Living
Oh.
color?
Not the erotic. That's later, dude.
Oh.
In living color?
Oh yeah. You
Yeah.
know, as dictator of Earth, I decided they're almost equal to white people.
Almost,
Whoa.
which is a big step.
Oh,
It's a
we're
step up.
Before Jeff, I was like, Jeff, what do you think of that? But he started making monkey sounds, and I just gasped. I didn't know what to do. I ran right out of there.
See, that's way worse than what I was saying. You don't give Zach shit.
I didn't
way
say
worse.
That. I'm saying I'm paraphrasing what you said, Jeff.
I did a little cancer joke.
I
Just
said-
like, oh, Jeff is, making monkey sounds
I
when
thought
he
the
sees black
cancer
people.
joke was funny.
Jeff, I sat there and I said they deserve rights, Jeff, and you went, oh yeah, that's funny. I walked right out of there.
This is what I get for giving you I graciously give you a Nazi dagger from World War II, and this is how you repay me, Zach.
Look, I got some fresh stains on there for you, Jeff.
Alright.
You're starting to start off as one of the darkest ones. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Let's talk about puppies.
okay, I want a puppy.
What about the ones where their eyes are falling out? And they
Corey,
can't breathe
you
properly?
instantly turned it around into pure hatred
The worst video I've ever seen is a puppy getting
Wow,
crushed
it's-
by a heel.
on
Oh, I
Facebook.
think I
seen
saw
it?
that. The worst
I
dog
saw
video I
that.
ever saw.
It's going on around MySpace on like the Messenger
On your
or
space?
whatever it was. My pussy space.
Let's talk about the depth of your vagina because it's really
Hold on,
astounding.
slow down. We had a topic. We have a topic.
What?
We talk about the worst videos we saw of animals getting ripped apart.
Let's not do
great
that.
topic.
Oh, dude, that was... People
Let's-
are eating.
Oh, come on, you guys.
Here's a
Pick
question.
topic.
I don't want to throw up my
Stage 4
donut
cancer,
here.
Jeff's cancer friend.
one time
puppies being
I saw a
mutilated.
video, a karate man walked out, right? He bowed in front of the camera, he walked over to a plank he picked up, he smashed it with his head, and then he did it with 2 planks. And then he picked up a turtle and smashed it in half, and he held the turtle up with both hands.
That's a great story, Chris. Let's talk. I have a question for our guest, Nikki. What do you think of all the videos that these guys watch all day?
Nikki,
Oh, the cringy videos.
what do you think
Yeah.
of cringe?
They're like,
what do
hey,
you-
come over. And I was like, all right. I thought we were going to have a good time.
What do you
What did we
think?
do? What did we do? For a few hours, we just watched some cringe videos. And every few minutes,
Dude, I
Zach
walk-
would say,
that's
bail. Let's bail.
This
Let's-
is
let's-
literally
let me tell you
like
Let's turn the
how
criticism
friends
inward.
socialize.
Let me tell you what really happened.
Yeah.
I walked out with a surfboard and my sunglasses. I said, let's go surfing. And she was like, I'd rather sit here and watch cringe videos. I was like, dude, you're a fucking nerd. What do you think I do all day? I fucking surf. Get over it. Get the fuck over it.
Do all you guys have psychological problem where you like watching videos of?
I think it's partially masochistic. It has to be.
Yeah.
It's like partially
actually-
torture.
Yeah.
I find a lot. I guess it's kind of I pick and choose. Like I cherry pick the cringe I can watch because there's certain ones I can't watch with like actual human interaction with another person who doesn't like the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a really cringy person goes up to somebody and then she's just like get the fuck away from me, or he's like get away from me. I feel for that person, but when it's just them in the room like doing something artistic or cringy, I can get down with it.
I read a definition of the point of cringe. Like what makes something cringe is you sort of empathize with the person
it's
in the
empathy.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I was
crin-
watching.
Go ahead.
One of the worst ones I watched recently was this guy. This big fat guy was doing stand up and he was bobbing really hard. And after a joke, he would tell you, he'd say, thank you. It was such a good time here. But his jokes were horrible. Nobody was like, it was really uncomfortable.
That's like
Because even if the joke landed kind of well, he'd still be like, thank you.
I can't watch amateur.
I feel like that's like a defense mechanism.
humor.
Like he needs a reassurance that he's not fucking up, so it's like he tells himself.
I don't remember who it was. It was either Zach or Jeff, but someone linked me the Minecraft cringe video where all the little kids went up to the
Minecon?
microphone and started
Oh,
asking
yeah.
questions.
Oh,
And then they just freeze up.
Add to the
Makes my butt tingle.
the server. He like
That
dies
poor
on the last
fucking
word.
kid. He will never have a good life. That like was that set his career life out for good.
By the way, Chris,
What?
Maybe he had his own little Minecraft.
I watched
setup
that
when he was
video
young.
you were
What?
talking about yesterday.
Which one?
You want to guess?
Yeah. No.
The one I had to almost turn away from. I shivered when I saw.
What was it? I forget.
It was 2 men sliding down the thing.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, the two guys.
That's
the
so
two
hard.
like teenagers
How
in
dumb
Ukraine.
can you fucking
Okay,
be?
Slide
video
down.
is 2 guys sliding down a glass roof and they both break their backs and one of them dies and it's on
He
YouTube.
lands, one of the dude lands on his head. He fucking just died.
The one got immediate brain damage.
I think one of them shit their pants in the
Yeah, he
video.
crapped himself.
Yeah.
They were
As
sliding down
on
a
his way
glass
down?
ceiling.
No, when he stands up, you
was
can
like
see
a
the
gl-
back of his pants. It's either dirt from the glass, but it looks like shit.
The one guy went down backwards and on his stomach when knowing there were concrete stairs
Yeah,
below.
they were
Wait,
drunk.
what was this?
I feel like that's Ukraine. It was in Ukraine, but I feel like it was kind of.
Of course, it was like the Ukraine,
Just
Yeah,
these
yeah,
two
yeah.
or
drunk
something.
guys just decided to go down this really...
They were like 17 years old.
I
though.
draw the line at people dying in like videos and
Yeah, I couldn't watch it. All of you guys were like gathering around it, like,
If-
ooh, let's watch
I
this
would
video.
rather-
And I was like, no.
I'd rather see a video of someone die than see a video of someone like ruin their life.
I would rather see.
Like if he had died, I would have been like, it's fucked up. But the fact he stands up and he has a broken back, it's like, oh no.
I'd rather watch
I
the
would
either.
rather
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I would probably rather see a person die over an animal, a
Yeah.
specific animal,
That's-
like a home pet animal.
That's like everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone feels like it's weird how everyone feels that way.
Nobody uploads accidental animal video deaths. It's always somebody
Yeah,
It's like some
intentionally
fucking
killing.
fucking
psycho
dog
with like
isn't
a pair of hedge clippers or something.
Yeah, fire or duct tape or.
This is a very dark hour.
Yeah, holy
This is generally how we started.
Well, we were saying earlier before we recorded, we were talking about no, this isn't this is relevant maybe weeks ago, but I think it's still
always
relevant.
I think.
But the fact that when people die, like when internet personalities die, people there's a bunch of people rush to make a video of them crying
Oh my god.
talking
camera.
about
With ads enabled.
right with that.
Yeah.
That's a dead giveaway.
And we were saying like who if we all died, like if I crashed my Jeep and we all died,
Wait,
who would be the first to immediately upload a video maybe that we know and
Jeff,
cry about
already,
you?
Jeff, I already know what people will draw of you. I think it'd be
Yeah.
you in heaven looking down and Tankman saluting you. That's exactly what it would fucking be.
yeah. And
Definitely.
and you would be wearing like your Wawa shirt, your Wawa, holding a Wawa.
Would I have like the
cup.
lens
Because
so
it's
they'd add
only
like the
thing
People
glow
would tweet like,
around me?
people would
I
tweet
have
like,
your Dunkin' Donuts cup in the
yeah. There's a Wawa in heaven, Jeff.
Yeah, and when I die, what are people?
Who would cry
What's up,
over
Mike?
you
You're gonna
for
be in
it?
the deepest,
Christian.
darkest part of hell, surrounded by all these pictures of porn
Yeah, it'd be like
I'm gonna be
Christian.
around a bunch of naked demon girls,
with
like
wieners.
Stamper said, with wieners.
Nice.
I mean, if you and Chris died, I mean,
Very
surely
Wawa.
a
Yeah.
bunch of kids would probably be like, "Wow, I gotta upload a video right
They'd
now."
Photoshop my head into like Leo
Wait.
Satan or something.
Yeah, they'd be like Satan looking down at you.
Looking up at me.
Yeah, Corey, go ahead.
Somebody died, like, it wasn't recently, obviously, it was a while ago. Jew Wario,
Right.
is his
Yeah.
actual
Jewish Wario,
alias
yeah.
name. I never saw this guy's videos. And people, when he died, like, the internet was
Give-
like crying.
you know what's
But there's
funny?
one person, there's one person who made a video, which was just, like you can just kind of tell that like people kind of soak in the whole like thing.
Yeah.
When like that Joe guy made a video.
Angry
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, Angry Joe. He made a video.
That's
and,
like,
The Jew, I'm so angry.
Yeah.
He died.
yeah, you could no. He had crocodile tears and everything.
Yeah, he was screaming.
He was acting it up
Look.
like he was starring in his own fucking like role in a movie. But no, he like made the video. And here's the thing, I could understand because the critic or whatever, like Nostalgia Critic, made a video and he had a lot of shit to say because he did stuff with him. He did tons of movies.
Yeah.
But the only thing Joe said, he's like, I was in the, I remember seeing him in a hotel room, and that's
He literally
about
said
it.
he literally said he bumped into him once.
Yeah, he bumped into him once, and he was gonna do something. And you know what really happened? And this is my personal opinion. My personal opinion is after he died, he realized the things he could have done with him, and maybe that might have been where the sadness came from. But
I don't think
to
so.
flat out do something like
Look,
that.
look.
I think
If
he's
somebody
I think
dies
he's a
and your first-
sociopath.
If somebody dies and your first instinct is to grab a camera, you're a piece of shit.
Like
and the
Tobuscus
chances
and
are,
Robin Williams?
Yeah, Robin Williams died and Tobuscus made a video and he was like, he had fucking makeup leaking down his eyes, mascara leaking down his face, and he was like, Robin Williams is dead. Oh, he had the ads enabled. I was like, dude, fuck you.
Yeah, when I just
Yeah, I was
I
like,
just
dude,
made
shut
fucking
up.
Steve Jobs. Like she records it herself in a fucking cafe with her friend. My hero is dead, and her
No,
friend's like,
come on, shut up.
it's pretty fucked up. Huh?
Because all the people with Jew. By the way, I checked Jew Warrior's statistic like a day before, like the day he died,
Yeah.
and it was like 1,000 views. And the day after that, it was like 10,000.
Would you like
it was
to cover exactly what this guy has done with his
This
life
guy,
before?
look, he wasn't like a piece of shit. He was
Yeah,
big,
no.
but he was just like
Just like
all the
an
comments on
overview.
his videos were like, "You're a faggot." That was the comments on his videos before he died. And the day after was like,
Does
"He's a hero."
did he review stuff? What
No,
did he
exactly.
I'm not even
It's
sure
very
what he did.
two-faced. No, he
He
basically
reviewed Japanese
Yeah.
like
Okay,
stuff.
and he wore a
found
Wario
bargains.
hat.
I think he
Yeah.
found
Yeah, a
bargains.
bunch of people on Twitter had like the
Yeah.
Wario hat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
was
trying
like,
to make fun of a
dude,
dead guy.
fuck
I'm just
you.
trying to.
No, you're
No,
not.
he wasn't bad at all.
No, he was harmless, but I knew nothing
Yeah.
about him, and I
nobody-
wasn't. I'm
I
not
get-
going to ham up something that I don't care about.
This isn't about
I'll say
him.
this. I'll say
No,
this. It
no.
wasn't like everyone hated him, but nobody gave a shit
Yeah.
about him. Not
Prior.
one fucking soul killed him.
Prior. You never heard. You know what you
Yeah.
heard? You know what I remember thoroughly? I remember my group of friends just knocking at him, this 35-year-old being in a group of like the awesome friends or whatever, a part of like the critics thing.
Yeah.
Knocking on him 24/7. And you know what's fucked up? Is like one of them was actually like, I think he's probably gonna kill himself first.
Yeah.
To be clear, we're not. Yeah, I just want to say we're not.
We're not saying-
knocking
No,
on
I'm
him.
not
We're just
saying
knocking
anything
on the
about him,
people.
but I'm just
who are
explaining.
like exploiting
Look.
his death.
Like I said, if you're, and by the way, everybody, when he died, nobody's comment was like, oh, he was such an intimate friend or whatever. It was always like, I saw him once or I never got to meet him. Because nobody gave a shit when he was alive. And I'm not saying that was warranted or whatever.
Don't say it like that.
No, I'm saying
You're gonna get such shit.
Let me fucking footnote that. Nobody cared about when he was alive. And I'm not saying it was warranted. I'm saying everybody who pretended to give a shit did not give a shit.
It's one of
it
those
was
things.
fucking cooked up sympathy so people could draw the attention to themselves, so people would feel sorry for you. It's like when you're 10 years old and your grandma that you never talked to dies, and you walk into school with your head low. It's like, what happens? It's like, oh, my grandma died. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. That's what these people are fucking doing.
Yeah.
You can have sympathy. You can feel sorry for the family. And you can be supportive in that way. But don't play up this fucking bullshit that you actually care about someone more than you do, because that makes you look even more of an asshole when people can see the facade you're
Suicide is never fucking good. His circumstances weren't good. But my point is, if you look at his views, if you look at the comments on his video, he was not a popular guy. That's a fact. Everybody gave fucking crocodile tears when he died so they could turn the attention to themselves and people could give them empathy. Oh, I'm so sorry for you. You lost somebody you cared about. Especially fucking Angry Joe. Whatever.
Zach, what would you do if he died and people just made videos of him laughing?
Would it be even more fun?
I think we're being cynical here. This is just how it is.
No, look, if you were an actual fan of that guy and he died and you were sad, sweet. You know, I'm really sorry if that's fucked up. Like when Ed Gold died, I think you, Chris, you and I had a right to be like, that's fucked up. You know, we knew the guy. We were intimate with him. I didn't make a fucking video masquerading in my face going.
You know what's funny about that?
What?
Not him dying, but I mean, when I made a video called "The Story of Ed's World" and it was making fun of him, like, and then he died.
In a front way.
Yeah, and then he died, and then everyone in the comments were like, "You fucking piece of shit!
Yeah.
He fucking died, you piece of shit!" And it's like, yeah, he's my friend.
So I think that's the distinction. If you care about somebody, like Ron Williams did have a fair share of like people faking it, but a lot of people did care about the guy, so that makes sense.
You care about Robin in the same sense that he was like, he was in your childhood.
Don't enable ads on your fucking video.
That's one of those deaths where it's like, okay, I get why people. He was a big influential guy.
Yeah, profiting off someone's death is like the worst thing you can do, and it's evident when you do something like that. That's just like the most snidely thing you can do.
I just feel like he went into the bathroom and stuck his finger down his throat to make his eyes get teary, and then he turned on the camera and was like, Robin's dead!
I just came up with an idea for a website.
Who?
It's a website, right, where it's called like, it notifies you a celebrity died, right? But it doesn't tell you which one. And then all of the YouTubers can go to it and be like, oh, they got a notification. And then they can open it in real time as they're filming themselves. And
it's
they
like
can
a present.
cry.
It's like a present.
Yeah, it's like a present. Like, oh my God, you know, Obama died. And they're like,
oh.
That's like one of the, and then you'll have your first national Tumblr, Twitter associated day, like your special day that everyone will forget in no time. That's another thing that pisses me off. Like these fucking days that trend on Twitter, and I know it's gay, but like they trend, and you're just like, really? This is a real holiday. This is a day you guys are showing off.
Wait.
Can I give my Zach's advice for the podcast?
Wait 1 sec, because
it's related to what he said though.
Okay, go.
Set your Twitter trends to a different country, like Japanese. I don't see a fucking thing, and it's beautiful.
Serious?
I log on, it's like, like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying. It's so good.
are you serious?
Yeah, I used to get stressed out
How
because
do you do
on
that?
Twitter. You just change. You click. It's right there where the trends are.
I've never done that.
It's so good.
I see like fucking like National Titty Day and Girl Wage Day or whatever.
Yeah, I used to go to Twitter and it'd be like pray for Selena. I go to like some 13-year-old Justin Bieber fan. I was like, I don't give a fuck.
I know.
Some girl like bleach. Who cares? But now I go to the Japanese things and I do Google Translate. It's like a fucking. A volcano exploded in Japan. Who gives a shit? I'm fine. I'm ignorant. It's beautiful.
Well, one of those said like "Death to America."
I'd be totally fine because I wouldn't understand it.
Those
They probably
are
all
gonna
say
trend for a while.
they could all say Zach's a piece of shit. Fuck you, Zach, and I wouldn't even know.
No, you wouldn't know that.
Well, you know that thing you just said with the fucking
Japanese.
celebrity death notification?
Yeah.
That could potentially be a YouTube update. YouTube could like update the biggest YouTubers and be
You
like,
hear that,
celebrity tag, go
investors?
do it, quick.
You hear that, investors? There's a website.
There you go, my idea. Don't steal it.
All right,
Hey,
well,
what were some deaths that bothered you for real? You know, just fucking ate it, Chuck.
JFK. The devastating.
Patrice O'Neal, when he died, it really bothered me.
Robin Williams a little bit. I mean, a tiny bit, just because you grow up with him and you see him
that's
in
what I'm
all the
saying.
movies.
He was in your childhood movies. Everyone remembers him as the Aladdin. Specifically, most people remember him as the
I'm pretty sure
genie in Aladdin. I meant
Robin Williams as Aladdin.
as the Aladdin.
you know what I meant, but like.
Yeah.
People remember him as the genie. Most people do remember him more for being the genie. I remember him more for like the
Mrs. Doubtfire,
like the classics, like Mrs. Doubtfire and Flubber.
I love that movie.
Flubber.
No, not
Something that
Flubber.
really pissed me
Remember
off when
Flubber.
Robin Williams died. It was like, I don't know what trendy website, but it had a picture of Genie hugging Aladdin.
You're free, Genie, it said, right?
Yeah. That pissed me off so
That's-
much.
I know.
It bothered me because it's like, imagine being Robin Williams doing all these fucking like good Vietnam movie he did, Good Will Hunting, all these great,
Exactly.
all these great movies, The Birdcage or whatever, and
1
it's
Hour
like,
Photo was another really good
and it's like the Genie's only really remembered role.
But that's like,
I know he left a mark in one way, so that's kind of good, but it felt a little bit like he did some. I
He
feel a
will
little bit.
always be Jumanji
I
to
feel a
me.
little bit gypped. By the way, did you guys see
It's my favorite.
World's Greatest Dad, World's Best Dad?
Not yet.
yes, it was a really
was a
good
good
movie.
movie.
It was a really good movie.
Is about suicide too.
Ooh.
Hey, that's a fun topic.
Sound better. Look that up. Nikki, who died? What's somebody died that bothered you?
Besides old Williams.
A cute boy band member or anybody?
When NSYNC broke up, I cried, and that was like a death.
How old were you?
It's like 2.
That's
She
devastating.
wept, and her mom was like, the part. She wept.
What about you, Zach?
What person died when I
Yeah.
maybe cried?
Yeah.
Made me cry.
Well, if you really want to know, do you want to know?
No.
Carlos Mencia when he killed himself. I wept and started punching the wall.
You just punched it?
Ride through the good guy, yo! That's what I said.
He's still alive. He's still making those funny YouTube videos.
He's done to me. Yeah, those green screen, this green screen videos where he's like a fucking anorexic crack addict. And he's like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And he has like this shitty slow transition effect. Anyways,
Here's a question.
so that.
I'll just say like Chris and Zach and Corey too.
Mm-hmm.
If any one of you died, would any of you put up a video like eulogizing the other? Like you don't have to be crying, but would you?
If Zach died, I would make a video.
Would you
If Corey
animate?
died?
Okay, if any of you guys died, I would make a video. The thumbnail would be a girl showing her titties so I could get lots of money. But I would be sad in the video.
Wait.
You'd be like, I'm really upset.
Jeff
Wait,
died.
yeah.
I will miss him.
If you died, let's say you died and like on the Sleepy Cabin website or the subreddit or something, everybody's like, all the kids are like, oh shit, Chris died or Zach died.
Yeah.
What kind of cringe thing do you think they'd post that you wish you could just come back from the dead and just delete? Like,
They'd be like,
probably-
here's an
probably
old picture
kids
of
in
him when he was
Avengers
16, fat and ugly.
What?
They dig up
you've done,
anything
something
with
you
you.
made, something.
They would dig up
Oh, I see what you
anything.
mean.
Yeah.
God, any of my videos, any of them, they're all terrible.
Anime videos?
Just any of my videos. No, any of my
Oh,
videos.
any of them.
Yeah.
100%. You just want to be wiped from history.
Yeah.
You want me to
died.
I
bring
love
out
my
like,
brains being splattered going with my cartoons.
All right.
It's all in one package. Here we go.
Yeah.
Jeff, if you died, I'd upload a video of me eating a crunchy pickle for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that video
Could
would
you
end.
do that?
yeah.
Video would end. It was called
Jeff.
Rip Jeff.
Just no, don't even call it like Rip Jeff. Like call it like eating a pickle, and then at the very end just say like
Dude,
Rip
Jeff died also. And finish it. The end.
If Jeff died,
By the way, Jeff is dead.
Yeah.
in the
I
video,
break it to you
in the
guys.
video, I would also plug Carlos Mencia's YouTube as well. In the video.
Don't forget to
Dude,
check out my friend Carlos's channel.
I would have like
He
40
needs all the subs he
annotations
can get.
on Jeff specifically, and then I would play like all the Tankman parodies in like.
Jeff,
you, Corey.
if you died,
Your video would be like,
if you
I
died,
know,
I'd play.
Steve.
I'm sorry.
Jeff, I would draw the Hankman hugging you saying, "You're free,
Yeah.
Jeff. You're free, Steve."
I would have
Worst
a
friends ever.
Photoshop, like one of those Photoshops where the heads are clearly forward. I'd have it like bending backwards, so your head's there, and then another take.
I would have an angel walking hand in hand with you, Jeff. Your head looking back, looking at the camera.
If Jeff died, I'd talk
I'm gonna
about
remember
how
this.
good his animation with the Pokemon tuner
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And
Everybody's so
I'd
mad about
highlight
that.
some of the comments on there that talk about
His-
whoever made this, I hope they fucking
fucking
die.
love
Fuck you, I
comments
like
on those
Pokemon.
kinds
Fuck
of
you, my brother
videos.
got cancer.
I've never I could never make anything more polarizing than that video. It's like perfectly 50-50 across the board. Of
Yeah.
people
The
who
Pokemon one?
thought it was funny and people that hate my guts for it.
The Pokemon one?
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
Because I don't watch Pokemon. I don't know shit about Pokemon.
That's the best parodies.
So
That's
I'm like-
you know what I realized? I realized like one of the best parodies, like people who make parodies are the ones that don't know anything about it. So they just like, I'm just gonna make some bullshit, and then it's like you look at it, and then you look at it, and you realize, well, it's actually somewhat close, but completely not
I
at
mean,
all.
I want it to be kind of relevant. I mean, I thought it would be I was watching a lot of Discovery and the Learning Channel at the time with all their fucked up shows, so that's what it was based on. It wasn't based on making fun of a dead kid. Okay?
Kinda was.
It wasn't based on making fun of kids with cancer and tumors on their head.
You specifically triggered a recent kid who died.
Oh, fuck off,
Pokemon
everybody.
Yeah, the little kid was like, I have the will to live. He went on YouTube and typed in cancer and saw that video and he died.
You know, like, it's funny, a kid with, like...
First video triggered.
You have blood in your hands.
The kid is a brain tumor grew so big he thinks like his neighbor's horse is a Pokemon. And like, that's funny.
Yeah. It is. Okay, so
that's humor, right?
Yeah, let's talk, Nikki. Let's talk about how you
no.
can fit a pineapple in your vagina.
Yeah.
Why is
Are
that
you gonna do it live
It's
on
what
the
it says
podcast?
here.
You guys want to talk about my fruit bowl?
It's what
Yeah.
it says
do
here
you
on the
have
notes.
barbs? Like, because pineapples have barbs on their quills, on their stomach.
Yeah, but she's got a meaty pussy, so it's fine.
Barbs?
Yeah.
You mean the little just spikes on them?
Her vagina can take the impact.
Yeah, it's protection.
She's
It's
got
got a
a
lot of
gray,
padding.
leathery fucking horse pussy.
You know, the girls have like this rape prevention thing. It's like something you put in your vagina.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It
it's
has
like
like
a barb.
spikes
Yeah.
in
I
it.
think that's a bad
Oh, really?
invention, personally.
Yeah, I think it's like
The
in
best
What are you gonna do now, Jeff?
What do you think?
How are you
I don't
get your
know.
blocks up now, Jeff?
Oh, I'm gonna have to adjust my plans tonight.
You
really.
can just your weekend plans.
Jeff, you're gonna find that perfect girl, and then you're gonna like bang the fuck out of her hardcore. Little did you know she had the rape trap in her pussy the whole time, and then she was like, see, this is true love. True love would get through the rape like fuck thing. Little did you know that
What
you
if-
have to go to the doctor. to
What
get
if
it out.
rapists though had a little device on their dick, like an EMP, that disabled their rape prevention?
Would you shot a little
such a-
miniature nuke into her pussy and exploded?
Like you put it in her pussy, goes. It's just such a bad invention because it's like, for one, yes, it's a good invention because it stops rape. However, it's a bad invention because what if people don't use it specifically for rape? What if they use it to entrap people or do stuff to get back at
you
someone?
could just put it in out for a guy to have sex with you regularly.
You're basically putting a bear trap in your pussy. So it's like, in regards, if you want to get back at somebody instead of like cutting off
Yeah,
his
you
dick,
could hypothetically engage a guy like mutual sex and just do that and say he tried to rape you.
Yeah, Nikki.
yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't sound clean. I wouldn't
Yeah,
want that in my
Nikki.
vagina.
Who was sitting around and thought of that? Oh, we'll put a barbed fucking
Same
bear
people
trap
who
with
think,
pussy.
same people who create those fucking urethra balls to stick into your dick hole.
Come again?
What?
Figure it out.
What?
What are you putting in your dick hole, eh?
There's urethra balls. They're like
those are airsoft pellets, Corey. Those are not meant for your dick hole.
Have you guys ever watched the video of guys, they try to put nails in their dick holes
Oh,
like a gummy worm?
I did.
Gummy
Jeff,
worm.
you know you love those videos. You
Oh,
watch
yeah,
them every
you
night
got
before
me.
you go to bed.
I better clear my search history.
All right.
Yeah.
We're getting into some juicy topics that are making me horny. Do you guys know when you drink it up, you drink the bubble, you get drunk? Does anyone have any interesting drunk stories? Because I mean, people drink here.
Oh, we could talk about you trying to make bacon the other night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Corey, you fucking goon.
You idiot.
Corey
I made it.
drank a bunch of alcohol.
I
You know what
made the
Corey
fucking
was
bacon.
doing?
We walked.
Corey was walking around saying, "I'm the baconator."
I never said that. That sounds like something a
Corey
crazy
said
person would say.
bacon, more bacon.
Wait, start
epic
from the
bacon.
beginning. He made us walk to Wawa to buy bacon.
forced
You
us.
bought
He-
a whole bag of shit that you weren't gonna eat. You
I
fucking.
ate it all.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
You fat bastard.
Nikki, tell everybody what Corey bought at Wawa.
Corey bought bacon.
You with your
That was the
photographic
first-
memory, bring it all
I was
back.
watching him the entire time. I had to watch out for my friend Corey. He was a little bit drunk. He was a little bit wobbly. He fell over
I
later
want
that
to
night.
eat
We'll
some
get to that
bacon.
part.
I haven't had bacon in what? Ever?
What are you doing ago?
As
You
soon
fucking
as you
maniac.
walked into that Wawa, I saw your eyes light up. You saw that bacon.
Is that true?
I saw your tongue go out. You
I
licked
saw
your
the salty
lips.
crackers and then I
You
saw
got a
the
little
bacon.
bit sweaty. You're like, bacon tonight. So you grab that. Then you grab some soup. 1 cup of noodle. What was it? Cup of noodles, chicken
Chicken
noodle
noodle,
soup.
It
You
broke,
grabbed
by
a
the way.
huge box of crackers just for that chicken noodle soup.
It was one case for $5. This is a steal.
And you also got a cup of cheese and I think salami
Pepperonis,
and
yeah.
more crackers
It was
than
a
that.
snack, yeah.
Yep.
I think you got
It was
some-
candy too, or he also
was-
a whole bag of
Could do
chips.
some epic snacking that night.
So on the way back, what happened to?
That's what happens when you drink.
What happened
Corey,
on the way
what
back?
happened on the way back?
Corey, tell us
Tell us
what
die,
happened.
Corey.
Well, I didn't have my footing properly because I was intoxicated and I fell down a hill and almost was impaled on a fence.
Yes.
Corey, why do you always want to run full speed when you drink? That's another thing.
He looked me right in the eyes, and I got scared. He said, "I'm sorry, the hedgehog." And he's still running.
I knew you were gonna fucking say that. I was gonna say Naruto. I was gonna say fucking Sonic. Because they run this. Fuck you! I never wanted to run like Sonic.
They run the same.
You're trying to make your legs
You run
run
like
that
fucking
circus.
Dr. Roy Eggman. Game 1.
Can Naruto spin dash?
Yes.
No, he can't.
Yes, he can.
Oh,
You're
fuck
fucking
you
lying.
guys and your anime.
He can turn into a
God.
log.
Yeah, but can Sonic do hand signals?
Yes, probably.
Well, then I guess we're fine.
You know what Trunks can do here?
Anyways, Corey fell down a fucking hill. We walked back. Corey looked at us and he was like, "We were like bacon." And then you were like,
Then you
"Do
fell
guys
up the
have any-"
hill.
Did you
I never
guys-
said that. I was actually laughing because the defense mechanism I have that most retards have is they laugh a lot. Like they go to a point where they're hyperventilating because they almost die. Have you ever watched Jackass? Like you ever what's
What a
his
fucking
name?
segue, Corey.
No, it's still the same sort of what's his the dude he's like famous now.
Johnny Knoxville?
Yeah, Johnny Knoxville. He's like one of the famous members.
Did one of those guys die?
Yeah.
Ryan Dunn.
Yeah, Ryan.
Well,
Right, done
you got it
history.
coming.
Did you cry, Chris?
I was sad.
He
I
was
bet
one of
that.
my-
The dude fucking slammed his car into
Yeah,
a
I
tree.
know,
He was
but
a wasted driver.
yeah,
It's his
but
fault.
I grew up watching Jackass, and Ryan Dunn was my favorite.
His dad was sad, but it's his fucking fault.
Yeah, I know,
completely. He's an
obviously.
You need a
idiot.
killer
Yeah.
beard.
But anyways,
That doesn't matter. I was still sad.
anyways, like on like he. So he would do something that was really terrifying that he would be scared of. He would laugh.
Knoxville?
Yeah, like he laughs. Like if he's gonna get hit really hard, he starts like freaking out and laughing.
Yeah.
If he gets pelted by something, like when somebody drops something on his balls and stuff, he starts laughing. And if he's about to be attacked by a bull, he just starts laughing. And it's like some people do that. Like I remember I used to jump with my friend on the trampoline, and we would like punch each other and push each other off. And when we were about to fall off, we'd all like laugh because it's like a defense thing. I don't know. It's weird. There's probably like some reason for it, but so I would laugh when I was about to die.
So back to the bacon.
I see.
Back to the bacon.
Yeah, when Corey was falling,
Yeah,
Zach
big
and I were just
bacon.
staring at him.
Yeah,
Every time I thought you were going to stop.
You were open.
You were going to
You were
recover.
fucking. I saw you licking your lip.
Yeah,
Corey,
she
you were
was.
in the kitchen. You were saying, "Add bacon strips. Add bacon strips."
When Corey was falling,
was
every time
falling
he
at
tried to
the moment.
recover, he started to fall more, and then you lost a shoe, and
Yeah.
then that's when we were like, uh-oh, there's the fence,
There we go.
there's the spike,
I was waiting for it to
there's his
happen.
head. Your brain was going to
Corey
lay
started
right on
screaming
it.
with Super
Pants were
Saiyan,
down,
flew up
you
to us
were
again.
ready.
But then we came to our house. He was like, "You guys have any like spraying stuff to spray the pan down?" You didn't find any, did you?
No.
He just fucking cooked the
spat
bacon.
on it.
He did it dry. He cooked the bacon dry, and it fucking
don't
almost
have
caused a
any.
house fire.
I was gonna use butter. And some other. You don't have
didn't, though.
anything. You don't have any condiments. You're gonna use fucking mustard.
Corey, you filled up the house with smoke, and everyone started coughing. We almost died. Remember? Remember?
But it like now smokes cigarettes. So you
Corey,
should be used
He
to
does.
it.
Yeah, we don't though.
First of all, I was drunk. Second of all, I made the bacon.
Second of
Jeff.
all, first of all, you shared it, and that was nice.
Yeah.
I had a few bacon strips.
But the problem is like it's like a small kitchen in a room, so it's like the smoke is gonna build up. I didn't know to open the window because I was
The
drunk.
window was right next to you.
I was
Corey,
drunk.
have you played the fucking Sims, Corey? If you put someone in a closed space and light a fire, they die, you idiot.
Actually, when you first cook for the first time, because I did play The Sims, and you don't put an alarm, you're always supposed to put a fire alarm. The first time they cook, they will always cause
Corey,
fire.
did you know in The Sims you can do the cheat where you make a firework go up in the air, and the second it hits the ring, you pause the game, you pick up the explosion with the cheat, and you put it on your sim, and you kill him.
I used to just make houses and like put a bunch of Sims in a corner and put furniture there and catch them on fire. Yeah. They just pee themselves until the fire eventually got to them.
I have a question for Corey.
Yes.
This I'll come back to the drunk thing in a minute, but why don't you cover your Civilization 5 story?
Yes, this is funny.
Civ
Can I
this is good.
can I introduce it? Corey can take it away.
Go ahead.
We went to New York, as we said the last a couple podcasts ago. I don't know what fucking episode this is going to be, but Chris and I went to New York with Corey and Niall went there too, to John's house. And I was trying to get all these guys into Civ 5 to kind of play it. It's a fun little game. And you can make religions in the game. And Corey had a lot of culture and religious points. Corey, explain what you fucking did, you hooligan.
So I like bogarted all the religious points, and I took the opportunity to make the religion of autism. And
Japanese autism, no
yeah,
less.
Japanese autism. So you know it's bad. And like John was busy making his own like he was
putting a fucking mine in the
yeah,
middle
he
of
was
the
in the
desert or
fucking
whatever.
Persian desert making like gold mines and stuff. Zach was out actually playing the game and making like the landmarks and making America, and I was busy spreading autism and it hit John. Because I went offline because I was having problems with Civ, and I'm just like, I can't deal with this shit. So I went offline, and the AI took over, and the AI lost its fucking mind. It just went straight to John.
You were fucking haywire, dude.
And like, it got like the cavalry and just went straight to him and gave him like autism.
Dude, all John City's got autism. John freaked out and tried to he sailed like halfway across the world and set up on a little tiny island completely isolated. And like within one turn it caught autism. And I made the religion of American vaccinations to combat the autism. But the Japanese autism overwhelmed me. I couldn't deal with it.
Ultimately leading to Zach and John having a big war battle.
With Japanese.
And then nothing, and just everyone died. Everything exploded.
Yeah.
Didn't you make another religion after that? Was there something?
Yeah, the other one, I made another game, and I called it Down Syndrome this time. And the difference was, it wasn't so much that I was spreading it, is that I was getting people left and right calling me up, being like, hey, give me some of that Down syndrome.
No, give me the Down syndrome. The Polynesians want the Down syndrome, dude.
Napoleon's calling me up, and he's constantly asking
Yeah, the French were looking up across the ocean like, dude, we see the Down syndrome, it's pretty tasty.
Yeah, no, he was like...
Our people want to worship your Down syndrome.
That skinny motherfucker was asking me for salt and Down syndrome the whole time. And eventually I was like, no, motherfucker, and I got... Who's the emperor guy, the Egyptian guy?
Oh, Ramses?
Yeah, I got me and Ramses teamed up and we fucking killed his ass. And then Ramses was asking me for citrus and like Down syndrome, and I'm like, not you too, motherfucker. But then like all these other people were found, and they were like, hey, you have Down syndrome? And eventually it started spreading.
Why do they want the religion?
People were walking like, dude, I heard you got Down syndrome? Is that right? You're like, yeah, that's true.
Why do
the rumors are right? Here you
Zach,
go.
why do the people in the game want the religion / Down syndrome?
Because if you have a really powerful religion, it starts affecting their places, and you can make little like priests and stuff into.
Yeah, religion also helps. Like,
culture does too, so you can like really
it benefits.
Culture.
Okay.
Yeah,
really
people want
beneficial.
to give a really powerful culture or religion.
Oh, okay.
So I was like it's like I was like the big caravan of like Down syndrome.
He was the hottest Down syndrome.
So if his autism was small in number, no one wanted it?
No, like my vaccinations would have outnumbered his autism. People would have chosen my vaccinations over his autism.
Nobody wanted
You
it.
were too late, Zach.
And too little too late for the vaccinations and the autism.
Goodness.
See, that's why Civ 5 is a fun game.
It is a fun game.
It's only fun because you made it autistic and Down syndrome.
Exactly!
No, it's
That's
fun.
what
It's
you
fun.
do.
That.
It's like...
I'm kidding, I know it's fun.
It's one of those few games that I can actually play for like hours on end. I can't really do it with games.
There was in one game, there was this one Indian guy who was asking me for like 16 resources, and I'm like, dude, fuck you.
Was it Gandhi?
I don't know. He was asking me for like cotton, he was asking me for the foxes, he was asking me for like my stone, my iron, and I'm like, dude, I know you're like dying in like the Antarctic, but I'm not giving you any fucking stuff.
We'll wrap this up because I know people probably don't give a shit on this game, but it's a fun game because you can like
fun, yeah.
makes you think like a fucking maniac. Like one guy, who was it? It was like it was the Dutch were like developing their own nukes, and I had my own. I was like, you can't fucking do it. And I nuked him out of like self-defense.
You said you
I wiped him out. And I was like, fuck, he can't get nukes because that means two of us all nukes. Fuck you.
Yeah, like you upgraded your thing. You had like nukes, and they still had like cavemen with sticks and
Yeah.
fucking took them out before they could.
All he was doing is developing like a peaceful nuclear program. I was like, fuck you, dude. You can't get them too.
That's the
What
thing.
if you hypothetically want to shoot me with them?
It's like that's another thing too. Like if they're like building better things, like they're building pyramids and they're building.
Makes you fucking paranoid.
Yeah, you're like, fuck these guys. They're advancing too quickly. You fucking learn self-destruct and blow them up before they can do anything. Just like the real world. Anyways.
We're the topic.
So that was fun. And we have a special guest. We should be having her more or less. Do you have any funny drunk stories? Because apparently, I guess I was the focal point for the drunk stories.
Oh, did we even finish that?
We wrapped it up. Yeah, basically Corey got drunk.
I burned down the house, and here we are in house 2.
And he
Go back
fucking
to it briefly.
he spilled beer all
We'll
over his pants.
include the audio of Corey burning down the house at the end of it.
Yeah, pull it out.
People thought like
Insert it here.
People thought I would apparently like wipe my ass for the first time, which is very funny, by the way. What actually happened was I spilled beer all over myself, and the joke was, look at me, I peed my pants. But I guess nobody noticed that because I had toilet paper down there.
Yeah, I think
Put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, no, I posted that photo. That was a good one. And then you're showing your
looked
big
extra
guns
gross.
too. Your lefty
Flex,
and your
flex.
righty.
Did we? Okay, so if we're talking drunk stories, have we all talked about the drunkest we've ever been?
we do. Nikki, what about you? Go.
No,
Drunkest
have we?
I've
Is
ever
this like
been?
I think a little bit. I would do it. Yeah, because I talked about. We definitely talked about it.
Talk about your worst, like drunk, like your best drunk. Have you ever had like a really weird drunk experience? Good drunk story?
Yes. when I was under 21, I was at a house party with 2 friends who were very drunk and on a lot of drugs. And then we went. We didn't have a lot of money, so we paid for a taxi and went to a bus terminal. And we missed the last bus leaving the terminal, and we decided to walk to my house because we were under 21.
How far away was it from your house?
It was a 4-hour walk.
You're all drunk and on drugs, right?
No, I was the only drunk one. I wasn't on drugs. Yeah, we didn't want to call anyone because we were under 21. We didn't want to get in trouble.
You could, like...
Wait, what kind of drugs were they? Were they like Red Bull or something?
I think it was like cocaine and ecstasy or something.
Okay. Sweet.
Were you doing Red
Pretty
Bull
hardcore drugs.
Dude, when I was a kid, I used to fucking drink Red Bull and candy at the same time.
Whoa! Do you know what I used to do?
What kind of boy did I raise?
You know what I used to do?
Fuck boys.
I used to drink Coke and also drink Pop Rocks.
Dad? You're in trouble when he hears about this. Son,
yeah, we walked to my house from the bus terminal, and I lost my shoes at a graveyard because we decided it was a good idea to cut through. And I stubbed my toe, it was black and bleeding, and I walked barefoot for about 3-4 hours along a highway full of casinos and hookers and all these like weird guys looking at us.
Walking on casino hookers?
Probably one of the stupidest things I've done.
Besides
I probably should have
this
been raped
podcast.
and killed that night, but I wasn't. I was
You had
scared.
it coming.
You get home and
You were
your
asking
fucking
for it.
legs were blistered and ruined.
Yeah, I was looking at those guys, I was licking my lips, I was looking at my dirty ass.
See what that makes it?
Look,
Does that make you uncomfortable, Chris?
It's a bit slutty.
You
That's
like,
all.
you like dirty feet?
No.
Nicky, let me ask you a question. Like the type of guy, like you see a guy like in a Minecraft outfit, he's like,
Yeah.
Hey, baby, I'll make you explode.
do you A, fuck him, or B, fuck him hard?
My vagina.
That's his thing of
My
life.
vagina turns into Niagara Falls.
So he has this like notebook. He's like fumbling through the paper. He's like,
I gotta go right
yeah.
here.
He's like, did you hear one about that creeper explosion? No, I already told that one. What about them skeletons shooting arrows? That's weird. They have bones.
Oh God. I might have to kill him. I have to like pull out a knife and.
What if he
slit his
dodges?
throat.
What if he dodges and starts powering up? To
Yeah, he's like, hold on, I got 60 more. Let me get through.
What if he turns into Red Goku?
Turns into Red Goku. Yeah, explain that story.
It's not Red Goku.
Corey, you fucking.
It's not Red Goku. It's God Goku is Red Goku.
No, explain.
Or Kaioken Goku is Red Goku.
Nicky, explain what Corey did a couple days
No
ago.
such thing as Red Goku.
We're out to dinner, and Zach says, "Are you Red Goku?" And Corey looks at his shirt.
He stares like bewildered.
Stares at his shirt.
Like, no, I was like,
He
Corey.
looks down like he has a stain on his shirt.
What?
I was like, Corey, are you Red Goku?
remember
You gave me like a break.
This went on for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, Corey, I asked you if you were Red Goku. You gave me a blank stare. You looked really concerned. You looked at your shirt. He was like, what? And I was like, oh, you're Red Goku. And he's like, what?
I thought I was wearing a red shirt.
I was like, what do you? We were. Everyone was baffled. Like, what?
Oh, Corey. I have no idea
Do you guys
why.
ever look
I don't
around?
understand this story.
Do you guys ever look around and look at the people like trying to enjoy their meals, like out on a date with someone, and you could see how uncomfortable.
I always worry about that. Like every time we go
Yeah,
out.
you're always part of it.
No, I'm not.
Because you are.
I'm not. I'm always good.
I had the gosh. I'm always the answer.
You were screaming the other night in a restaurant
You
or
were
something.
screaming
You
Red
were.
Goku. It's like, are you Red Goku or not?
I was screaming at her because she fucking ate an orange slice and put it on my
Hold on. No, you're not
You were
changing the
screaming. I
topic.
tell you, shut up.
We were talking about Red Goku and fucking like Super Saiyan 4 Goku.
Remember when you and Stanford and I have screaming at each other about Frozen? From across the aisle? We were like sitting from adjacent, like, me, you're like, no, fuck you! Fuck you! And he's like, no, this is bullshit! You guys were screaming at each other.
I don't remember that.
Losers.
I remember we were screaming
The
about.
lady walked up and she's like, yo, want some eggs? And you're like, no, fuck you!
No, I remember we were screaming. You and me were screaming about like a Family Guy Jimmy Neutron crossover.
Yeah, Jeff was like, ugh. We were like, Jeff, if Jimmy Neutron came to the
We
Family
had
Guy
to be sure.
universe.
We had to be sure to rope Jeff in.
That's
We're like,
exactly what I
Jeff,
sounded like.
what'd you do? Seriously, Jeff, serious question. You wake up, you hear, oh, I'm in Jeff's world now. Jeff, and you see his hand, he puts his hand out.
Peter?
Jeff, come to the Jimmy Neutron world. Jeff, see all my cool
You
inventions.
guys were shooting up all these Jimmy Neutron characters. I didn't know if you were fucking with anything
Jeff,
or
what
if
would
it was
you do?
real.
Sheen,
What'd you do,
Carl,
What I do?
Jeff? He puts his hand, he's like, come to the Jimmy
Oh.
Neutron world.
Cindy, Mary Lou.
I
Jeff.
politely declined.
Jeff, you wake up. Guys, can I even tell my friend Jeff a question? Jeff,
It's a hypothetical situation. It's not a fucking question.
Jeff,
What?
you sleep in there, you're dreaming of like Minecraft updates and stuff. Right? And
What did
you
this
no,
Minecraft
Jeff, you
go?
feel pressure on your penis, and you're like, ooh, what could that be? So,
Yeah.
like, what is it? You wake up, Cindy from Judy Trun's rubbing your pussy against you.
Who?
Cindy from Judy
Cindy.
Trun.
She's a 10-year-old girl.
She's like,
She's the hot blonde.
She's
one.
like, yeah, well, give me that dick of yours.
Come on, Jeff,
Give me the
answer.
set of
Is that
my
what she sounds
pussy.
like?
Yeah, answer it.
Carl comes in, he brings in his llama.
I'd be terrified. I'd be terrified if there's a
she
crappy
looks
CG
just like she does in the
character.
show.
Okay, wait, go.
Jeff.
What
Jeff.
do I even say to
Jeff.
this?
Just say something.
What?
Carl comes in, he brings his llama.
Aw, hi Jeff.
She comes in.
You guys are
She
speaking
comes in,
Chinese.
throw it
to me.
up to her.
Okay, wait. Okay, new segment. Hypothetical Jeff questions, yes?
Jeff,
Yeah.
you're playing Minecraft.
Yeah, right.
Can I
You're
laugh?
just laughing and trolling everybody. You're just like laughing because you're killing everyone's like you're just griefing everybody.
That's it, that's
I'm
terrible.
griefing.
Mark, yeah, you're
Griefing,
griefing, okay.
You see a character with a familiar skin walking in the game. He's like, "Hey Jeff," you're like, "Could it be?" He says, "Yeah." Markiplier. You pass out, you wake up. He's like, "It's me, Jeff. It's not an apparition." He's like, he puts out his hand. He's like, "Jeff, come to the real world with me." Do you do it? Jeff, answer.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
Jeff, the sun is beating through his golden locks.
I goddamn lost for words
character
right now.
reaches for...
His voice booms over the beautiful music playing in the background.
You drop your pickaxe and move towards...
You fall to your knees.
The creepers don't even follow you, they're just waiting.
They're staring
It's like
at
a
awe.
Lion King thing.
The Endermen look on in
know what?
silence.
Okay, my
podcast
hypothetical
This
situation is
podcast
way
isn't
better.
fun anymore. Not having fun
You
anymore.
didn't even answer.
Jeff,
What?
okay, here's my hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
So as you know, there's a new movie coming out. And
Look,
Yeah.
you're talking like a serial killer.
someone shows up to your door and he hands you a script. He's wearing a coat, like a shadowy coat thing. You see the
Come on, I
script.
already know what this
Like
is.
an
So,
overcoat?
I'm not gonna interrupt you for
The shadowy coat thing. What does that have to do with the movie?
You see the script. You look at you like you see the script. You see the movie, and it's a
I don't know what. Did he show me the movie? He brought like a DVD of the movie, or I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll get the good part.
You're
Just wait.
reading it. You're reading to it, and then it's like it's all things you distaste. So it's like, is that
Okay.
the word distaste? It's all things you hate.
All right.
So you hate it already. You're like, this is the worst fucking thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
It's like, get out of my house.
It's like one of those movies made by all YouTubers or something, right? Something
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What, Corey?
Not what? Yeah, not what.
What
no,
happened?
I was gonna throw a curveball. I don't want to say though.
I thought you were gonna say it's Paul Blart.
I don't want to do. No.
I thought you were doing a Paul Blart thing.
Yeah, here's a question. Why don't you guys go see fucking Paul Blart Mall Cop 2?
We
It's
will.
out.
We will see.
That's like a
it's
0%
not out
right
anymore.
now.
Dude, I heard it's like bad, but there's a really like good scene in the middle of it. Like it's a really like well choreographed like rape scene. It's really emotional. Like he's fucked up. I heard.
Holy shit.
Like he corners like apparently there's like a new hot like gender lady. And she's like, "Hey baby," and he's like, "I'm gonna rape you. This is real life, bitch. You're gonna die tonight unless you comply with my demands."
my
But it's like
God.
really well done though.
Yeah, no.
It's
you know what
totally
it is?
left field, dude. It's
No, do
fucked
you know
up.
what it is?
Jesus.
It's Happy Madison are trying to get their audience back, and they know what sells is that
Rape is
random
good.
that random rape scenes in
Yeah.
like movies.
Rape is powerful.
Chris, would you
I have
make
a movie
presents? Who's
like
gonna
that.
cut that out and play it back? Rape is good.
Rape is powerful.
I have something to say. I'm gonna, I'm almost half embarrassed to even bring this up, but
Oh no.
You were raped.
yes, but it's something else.
Jesus, Chris.
You know how you guys are always arguing with Frozen, right?
Yeah.
And
I stand on that.
endless arguments about Frozen, problems with Frozen, and you guys are always saying that movie fucking Tangled
Yeah.
is better than Frozen. I watched it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're right, it is better.
it
good.
is. I told
It's
you.
fucking aimed
I-
at little girls.
That's
good.
exactly though, but that's the thing. It's aimed at little girls, but you can still enjoy it because it's a family
But all the
movie.
characters at the very least act consistent.
Yes.
They don't change their motivations weirdly.
They're
like how-
mostly
story-
likable.
Yeah.
The story is like
the jokes aren't overdone. Like they know how far to take a joke without like overdoing it,
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, and like all the characters, because like
and it looks nice.
it's
Yeah.
also not like the same story you grew up with, which I was trying to say, what's about Rapunzel. It's not really the Rapunzel story you would expect, so they tried a different take on it, which I appreciate. And the whole premises of how she exists in the world and where she gets her powers is told within the first 5
Corey,
to 10
can we
minutes.
just attack this in the ass now?
Wait. I want to.
All the comments are going to be shitty on you for saying premise instead of premise. Yeah, Corey, just say that you can acknowledge that so people don't really
Oh,
comments
okay.
instead of saying premise instead of premise.
I say premises instead of premise, but you know what I mean.
He says Wawa
Okay,
instead of
just wanted to
Wawa.
say it because there's
Wawa
a million fucking
instead of
comments.
Wawa because it just rolls off the tongue better. Premises rolls off the tongue
We all
better.
have our own words.
I
say
just wanted to
Parmesan.
point that out because I knew all the comments would be premises. Okay, that's what
I don't
know.
care
Right.
about these. Said English, which like fucking
English
show off their
Jeff,
diplomas.
I got a hypothetical for
Okay.
you. You're streaming Five Nights at Freddy's on your PS4. You're getting loads of viewers, right?
Yeah.
And you're making lots of money through donations. Okay.
Yeah.
But then you look to your chat, and people start calling you faggot, and
Yeah.
you don't know what's going on. This has never happened before.
Uh-huh.
And then the comments start flooding. Hashtag sexy Mark sent me. And then the Markiplier appears, calling you faggot.
Jeff, here's what happens for real though. Your students come out, he comes up on screen. He's like, Jeff.
Why do I care about this talentless cunt that's been working at McDonald's? I don't care.
Jeff, it's me, your favorite guy. Haha.
Ah.
I've hacked the internet,
No,
Jeff.
this is what he's saying. He's like, would you like fries with that burger?
Jeff,
Jeff, what I was
Hello?
saying,
Yes, would you like a medium or large
ding fries are
milkshake?
done.
Jeff, what I was saying originally was I was saying the guy in the black coat because they're making they're making that Freddy game into a movie and he's gonna be in it. And I was gonna say they're gonna hand you the script and he's like, Jeff, I wanted you to be my stunt devil.
Stunt devil.
Did you say
Yeah.
stunt devil, Corey?
Yeah, Bugabye. He's like, I always felt we shared the same chin.
Alright, we can stop it, that, Corey. That is a fucking showstopper. You cannot move on from that.
You're like
Let's
stunt
sit on
devil.
this
and
for
you're
a
like,
second. Let's fucking dwell on this for as long as we can.
Corey,
What?
Corey, just get the fuck out of here.
I have a question, Corey. If
What did I do?
If you could live entangled, would you like to be a male Rapunzel?
No, I want to be the
Corey,
male and fuck Rapunzel.
Corey Unzel? Would you live in the tower?
I wanted to fuck her.
Corey, would you throw your pubes down for everyone to grab? That has to be done before, right? People, that's gotta be a parody that's already been done.
Yeah.
What would you do,
People
Corey?
cut
What would you
things
do
into
all day
pubes.
if you lived in a tower?
I lived in a
yourself.
tower.
You lived in her tower.
Yeah. Would you
Well,
dance
in the tower,
around
you just
and
beat
I
up
would
all
fuck
day.
her mom.
Her witch?
Yeah.
you'd fuck your mom? You mean?
She's not my mom.
You think
She is in the story though.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Okay.
What if she got? What if she's like, I'm just gonna stop sucking my power from your hair. I'm gonna get really old. Then would you still do it?
I think over time I would get used to it. So
Would you
yeah.
throw her from the tower?
What?
Would you throw her from the tower?
You know, I grab my own hair and go down down my hair, like I'd pull the hair
And leave
go
her
out
up
the
there to
window.
die?
So if she was running errands for you, she said, Corey, what do you want for your birthday? I'll get you something from the forest.
From the forest.
Yeah, you know, like she gets Rapunzel like her hair paint or whatever.
Oh, I would get her. I would ask her.
I just say, I want a copy of Five Nights at Freddy's, and she's like, that doesn't exist in this universe, Corey.
I don't want a copy of Five Nights at Freddy's. I've said this before. It's one of those movies that everyone hates it. I like it, but there's specific scenes I like that make it a movie I could rewatch.
Corey, what would you do if you went back to medieval times and there's no Dunkin' Donuts? Corey's face just dropped real time.
Corey just fucking got
It
shot.
looks like if you got told his parents died in a fire or something. He was like,
I think I saw a tear forming.
So there's no Dunkin' Donuts?
There's no Dunkin' Donuts.
It's medieval times, dummy.
I would.
It's not Dunkin' Donuts.
I would invent Dunkin' Donuts.
people would stab you 50 times.
I would use
People
mule
throw you in the
piss.
mud.
I would use mule piss and mud, and I would make my own Dunkin' Donuts, and I would call it I would call
You don't
it.
think people
I
would
would
sip
call
that,
it.
spit it out immediately, and then kill you for witchcraft?
I would show up. I would call it Ye Dunkin' Donuts.
You would die. I think any of us saying
No,
you
I would
would
be
die
like,
so fast.
excuse me, young sir.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Try my coffee, and then you try it.
Oh dear, what is this? What the fuck?
Henry would summon you and behead you, you fucking idiot.
What is? Yeah, he'd be
I
like,
don't think everyone would enjoy it.
You would not.
I understand that people need to keep their image. They can't deal in peasants, but it's one of those things where it's like he would wear his like
okay, let's do a role
ragged
play.
robe, come
Let's
down
do a
and
role
try
play.
my mule piss coffee.
Corey, let's do a role play. Jeff is the king. You just admit to Dunkin' Donuts.
Excuse me, sir, king.
Yes, I'm the king. Yeah.
I've no.
I have
No,
a
you have
problem.
to say, I'm King
I
Jeff.
called you here to the court because one of our fine Knights of the Round Table came into your establishment this morning.
It was me.
In his brand new armor, and you gave him an extra large Ye Dunkin' Donuts coffee with a shitty lid on it, and it spilled all over his brand new stainless steel armor.
that is the thing,
And he
though.
wishes to
Hold
behead
on,
you in
hold on.
the town.
Yeah.
I'm
in
gonna
the town
segue.
square.
I'm
I'm
gonna
really
segue back
mad.
into the story, but that's the thing. First of all, I will ban future extra large
you gotta be
coffee
conscious,
lids on
hip hop,
coffee.
Corey.
No, this is like segueing out. This is like the author coming, poking his head out of the movie to say it.
Don't Kevin Smith it. You can't Kevin Smith it, Corey.
Shut up, the fucking Kevin Smith again. I'd be like, yeah, in this universe, there's no extra large coffee lids, so there's not cut.
You
Okay, so
ruined my
back.
armor, you piece
Okay,
of...
back to the club.
Was it? All right, he would say a knight. He's like, this knight wishes to behead you for ruining his armor. It's like, how do you defend yourself? You're like, I'll let you tell your side of the story.
I'm walking towards you, Sir Corey.
What was wrong with
lay
my
spaz
coffee?
kid.
I spilled it all over
Yeah.
my chin, you piece of shit.
Well, that's because you
What is it?
What?
are nearsighted. You need
Look, I
glasses.
was sitting right there watching him drink his coffee.
Oh yeah, you're right. All hail King Corey.
Hurrah!
Boo!
No, here's what would really happen.
What happened to the old king?
Here's what would really happen. I'd be
he's
like,
right there.
sir, before I am beheaded, please try my delicious yay coffee, and then I give it
Corey,
to
they would
you.
kill you more brutally if they tried fucking donkey piss and mud.
Try to imagine the mule piss, isn't there?
Do you try
That'd
it?
be like the third act
And
of
then what
a
do
movie.
you say?
It'd be like the last 5 minutes of the movie where you're like,
be
look,
like-
sir.
Like, wow, you are. I don't know. Yeah, what could I do worse than just behead you in the town
What
square?
would you say when you tasted it? What would you say? You're like, this is the foulest shit I've eaten.
There you go. Yeah.
Say it, say it.
This is the.
I like your
I can't act like a goddamn. You're asking me to roleplay as a king who just drank mule piss or whatever.
Yeah.
Acting, Jeff.
You're gonna
It's
get
why we're all
This is,
acting.
You gotta say something like that.
There. This
Mule
coffee
piss.
Yeah,
is
say that, Jeff.
bad.
Say that
say
would die for no reason.
This is bad coffee.
Yeah.
Yes, but isn't there a bit of a punch in it? You're not used to it. You're used to drinking old gray water, but you haven't tried my mule piss coffee, sir. This is new. I'm telling you, it'll catch on. People will drink it. The taste will be stuck in their mouth forever, but it'll keep them awake.
Maybe
in the
I'd
morning.
offer you a job as the court jester. Be like, you have to close down your coffee shop. You can be the court
My
jester.
king, the coffee is good, but we should still kill him.
Why is he fucking like a weird like Smeagol character? What's that guy's name? Igor?
We must kill him.
Yeah, don't do mine.
I love your logic, by the way. You're like, try this mule piss coffee, but it's not coffee. It's just mule piss. There's nothing coffee about it.
There's mud and mule piss and little chunks of plague rat.
Yeah, but it's like it's an early form of coffee. Nobody knows what coffee is yet.
It's not how. What's coffee about that? It's just mule piss.
Wouldn't you want to take this opportunity
It's
to
like
invent
taking a rock.
coffee,
It's like having a
Corey?
rock
Why don't you
hamburger.
just go get some
It's a fucking
coffee
rock.
beans?
Yeah, but it's a rock hamburger.
Why don't you actually roast your own coffee beans? Would you do
Corey,
that?
if you got sent
We're
back
in
in
the old
time,
times.
you would find an old abandoned barn and you would sit in the mud drawing porn until you died of plague.
That's true.
Somebody would see you
But I
drawing
would
tits.
take pictures of it with my Polaroid and give it
Corey
to
would be in a cave drawing titties and
Yeah.
little dicks.
People would walk in.
I
and
would
get horny,
invite
feel
people.
confused, and kill you.
At first, it's like, please don't make fun of it. It's my first
I
time.
wonder if the wood guys back then used to just draw the report and beat up in their house and like crumple it up and throw it away.
I always thought the funniest part of that Monty Python movie wasn't the jokes, it was just the fact all the peasants sit around in mud just throwing mud into piles
That's
all
the
day.
funniest part of the movie, yeah. How'd they talk again?
They just talk like nice British people.
No, there's the one character that who's like talks like a fucking weirdo.
So
With a really high pitched voice. I can't remember.
would I
forget.
be beheaded afterwards? The cold coffee thing?
Yeah, and then they pour the mule piss down your neck hole and hang you up on a fucking cross outside the village to warn other people.
They like boil the mule piss to a fucking scalding temperature and pour it down my throat. So
They
fucking
impale your head and call you the mule piss peasant retard.
And then you steal my idea and make you Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, I'm the fucking inventor now.
This is a good story.
Mm-hmm.
Dunkin' Donuts.
The legend of the boy who got sent back in time to
Let's
medieval
talk about
times to
Nikki,
create shit
you
coffee.
can have a lot of
Oh,
insight.
Nikki, you're a guest. Hello.
I'm over here.
Hey, let's you can talk about this. You can open your fucking trap about this. Let's
Yeah.
talk about art college.
Oh yeah,
Oh
very
yeah, tell us
passionate
about school.
art college. So you all went to high school, hopefully, right?
Yes, you can
Did
say
anyone,
it.
did anyone else drop out? I dropped out a sophomore year.
Oh, I graduated,
I graduated barely because I'm a
but I didn't
retard.
graduate college.
Did you finish high school, Jeff?
I did, yeah.
Chris?
I dropped out.
You know a lot
High
of
school?
dropouts.
Oh no, I stayed in high. Sorry, I dropped out of college.
Yeah, no, I left high school sophomore year because I thought it was bullshit.
It is.
You dropped out of high school?
Yep.
School's bullshit.
I
Gross.
would have rather stayed home and worked on art than
Smoked dank weed.
Well,
you say
yeah.
I wanted to smoke the dank weed.
Your parents sound cool. My parents would have beheaded me if I did that.
So art college.
art college
Art
is
college.
not necessary.
No, I never thought it was. And then
No.
people ask that all the time.
Do you have the experience of pretentious fucks, as they say in art college? Did you have that experience?
You know, I went to community college and I took some life drawing classes and that's all I needed. I realized afterwards, like, it's just a waste of money.
No, yeah.
Do you have to get like your GED or something from high school before you can go to college?
Yeah.
The one I went to, yes, but I don't think it's necessary all the time. I don't know what the rules
How
are
did you
nowadays.
get in there?
Yeah.
I showed them my titties.
Really?
Makes sense. Okay.
Like, oh, those are big.
You really got in that one?
Nice.
You can't show
Look,
your
link to her
balls.
titties below.
But I don't think our college is necessary.
No, because it's one of those things. Like I've never learned. I never went to art school.
Excuse me.
When I went to art in class, it was just my teacher taught like belittling me and saying I'll never make anything. Like
Yeah, did you ever, like, draw and they're like, oh, that's anime? It's like,
yeah.
no.
Can I say, maybe it's a little bit controversial, but I feel like cartoons are harder to draw. A good cartoon style is harder to do
No, it is.
than a realistic realism, because I feel like anybody with enough practice can really get like life drawing down. Is that too far to say?
No.
Anybody with dedication can do that, but then, to then take real life and caricaturize it and kind of simplify
Life
it,
drawing
it's
is
hard.
life drawing.
Is that fair to say?
No,
I mean, a cartoon
In an
style.
appealing way. I mean.
It has a very unique set of rules that you have to follow.
Yeah.
Me and Zach were saying that if you like spent your life become the world's greatest photorealism drawer, no one would even care in the end because
No.
there's nothing unique about it.
That's what always gets all the attention on the internets. Like, oh, look
Yeah,
what
but-
I did. I traced and copied. I'm
Yeah, it's
the
like I drew
human
my friend that
photocopier
looks like my
copied a
friend.
photo.
It's like,
It
that's
takes
nice.
It takes a huge amount of skill, but no one will really care in the end anyways.
I would honestly say there's probably 5 art styles that I really like. That I like artists who have art styles where I'm like, that's a good art style. Maybe 5, maybe 6 tops. But as far as so I think it's hard to characterize stuff and simplify it in a way that's really appealing and aesthetically just nice. It's good.
I'm just like, I feel like, because...
That's just me, though.
No, when I do
I'm an
art...
idiot.
When I do art and I'm doing, like, proportional stuff and I'm like that, I'm like... I don't want to do it exactly on model with a reference, so I try to, like, cartoonify it. So I have, like, this weird hybrid cartoon style. Because because it's like I was saying, like proportional stuff, like when you see a picture of a certain angle, sometimes it just looks weird because you're not used to, even though it's accurate, like if somebody's looking back and their head looks 6 times bigger than their fucking body, you're just like, that looks retarded. So when people draw that same exact thing, they'll make the head smaller because realistically that's what you would think it would look like. And normal people would do that if they were doing like the sort of like realistic thing. They would do the big head thing, but I just feel aesthetically it looks more appealing when you like exaggerate more and do more interesting stuff. That's what cartoons are. It's just like exaggerating features.
I think it's safe to say that I've seen way more art styles that are cartoony where I've gone, that's fucking disgusting to my taste. I'm just like, that looks nasty. Like,
makes you want to puke.
Yeah, seriously, there are maybe like 3 or 4 TV shows where like, that's a nice art style. So it's way easier to fuck up a cartoon style than it is to, because if you do a realism drawing and you kind of make it look a little wonky, it's like, oh, that's pretty good. It's really hard to royally fuck up a realism style. Again, that's just me though, but it's really easy to have a severely unappealing cartoonish style. It's like, oh, they added too many facial details, or they made the hands too big or something.
Or they put specific details.
Exactly, it's super easy to make that look bad. And so to find a good balance of simple yet it shows what's going on is hard.
Yeah, it's weird how like little things can really change something. Like my dad started drawing recently. He stopped now because he gave up. But when he was like, he was getting really into drawing like portraits because he was watching this TV show that was like the X Factor of portrait drawing. My dad was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a portrait drawer, and he started sending me pictures of like my sister when her teeth like grew up. Fucking, he put the lines in between each tooth so it looked like fucking creepy old lady and shit.
My point is though, that was realism though, so it still looked, so it still wasn't like. The poster was like, no, that's not that good.
But even in realism, if you put like big black lines between each tooth, you look like a fucking like redneck.
My point is, you weren't like.
It's hard to
even though you acknowledged it wasn't a very great drawing, you're still like, that still looks alright.
Yeah, no, but
that's my point. It's way easier to make something look like bad with a cartoon style. Like, that looks bad. They made like, it's like adding a cartoony head with a realistic ear or something. Like, that's disgusting.
Dad, if you're listening, I thought your pictures were great. You shouldn't have given up.
I feel bad for people who are super talented at making a traditional lifelike drawing, and they're just they can capture your face.
Yeah.
But there's nothing for them.
There's no character
nowadays.
to it.
But like just with technology, like someone who's really good at charcoal, like they can't make a living. I don't think.
No.
You also have to adapt too. So if you're not good at this, well then try to branch off to the closest thing that will get you a living.
That's weird too when people post something like that. All the comments are like, "You're so good, you can make a living at this." Like,
doing what though? It's like, I can draw a chair and make it look like a chair. It's like, cool, but
it's like
I can take Photoshop and add a fucking sketch filter to it.
Yeah. And look, we're not fucking dissing you old bros who can draw stuff good, like, but it takes a lot of talent, it takes a lot of skill, but we're saying, I'm a specialist, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think being able to draw a good, appealing cartoon style is way underappreciated in comparison to drawing a really realistic style.
No, I agree. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
You being a damn good president. That's what.
Yeah. Quite I'm saying you could run the platform and be like, sir, what is your opinion on the balloon deficit? You'd be like, I don't know about that. First of all, fuck you.
God. Fuck you.
Sir, President
First of all,
okay, come on.
Listen.
Jeff, let's
all right,
play
you know what I'm tired of?
I'm
tired of parakeets, parrots, fucking macaws, and all these motherfuckers who repeat what I say over and over. Listen, first of all, listen.
Jeff, let's play you off the play. Jeff,
first of all, I don't have enough fucking saltine crackers to fill their goddamn mouth.
Jeff, let's play President Corey, okay?
Yeah.
Jeff, you're there interviews, okay?
Yeah.
So,
President Corey.
President Corey. So,
you guys first question.
Mr. Corey, or President Corey, that is. You're running for re-election. What is your policy on Israel?
They're the ones that they wear this stuff and show their ankles, right?
Pardon me, sir? What is your policy on Israel? Do you believe in the two-state solution, sir?
We gotta get more foot jobs, more foot job focused stuff there.
Sir, what is your policy on the two-state solution? Do you support that or oppose that?
If they can only show their ankles, we gotta pass a law to at least be able to show half their face.
He's so right.
We have a second question here from another reporter.
There's rumors Saudi Arabia is trying to clone Osama bin Laden and bring him back from the dead. What do you plan to do about that?
Build big robots.
This is why I voted for him.
We love you, Press Corey.
Mr. President, your adversary has said multiple times that you have caused $40 trillion in debt over 4 years. How is that possible? Where did all the money go to?
I spent it on stuff I needed at the time.
Like what?
Like personal stuff.
Corey. President Corey, could you answer for the $300 billion data center in Nevada that organizes the world's porn, but you've been ignoring global warming? What do you say to that,
Sir? I'd like to point out to add on his question. Sea level has risen 10 feet. Most of the floor is underwater.
Hold on.
President Corey,
Okay,
how do you explain the shortage of Pokemon cards and Sonic the Hedgehog figures?
Wait, sir.
I like that guy's question better.
Sir,
Explain it!
President Corey, like I said before, global warming has caused a 10-foot high sea level rise that's caused thousands of deaths.
Speak on behalf
being
of this
abandoned,
guy.
and all you keep talking about is a platform based on fruit snacks and salty crackers for all. So people are dying in your country.
Where are the Sonic figures?
Hold on. To classify it, weather will happen. It'll get hot, it'll get cold, just deal with it. Second of all, the figures are coming. They're coming.
You've been saying that for 15 years!
We're just making them different flavors so kids can suck on them and they don't. At least when they choke with flavor in their mouth.
Woo, thank you.
The president calling. I got autism, but I was wondering. I forgot my question. Sorry. I'm also autistic.
Thank you, that was President Corey, everyone.
Thank you. No more questions.
Oh, okay.
He's got some 1993 Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons to watch.
Don't bother me while I'm
Sits in
working.
the Oval Office watching Sonic in the 90s.
Yeah, we had an interview with President Corey today who was watching Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons.
Setting him, to be specific.
Mr. Corey, what do you think of Iraq? Oh, no, what happened? Sonic the Hedgehog eats chili dogs. That's pretty fucking sweet. That's all I know about that.
Listen, realistically,
President Corey, what do you think of Saudi Arabia developing nukes? Dude, Dr. Eggman's an asshole. Why does he always bother Sonic? What do you ever do to him?
I like other stuff besides Sonic. I like Dragon Ball Z. How about putting some Dragon Ball Z in this beat?
Fuck you, Corey.
We are funding super soldiers to act just like Goku in
We
the
are
heat of
trying to
battle.
build a real Naruto. He's our secret super weapon.
And I'm gonna come to a podium and be like,
We are mixing animals until they form a Naruto.
we are inventing the fusion as seen in Dragon Ball Z episode. I would say it's around the Boo Saga.
We are building a
No
real
further questions. And then I would be shot.
You'd be killed in the first day of office.
Assassinated.
Yeah.
I would be at the podium and be
Corey,
like,
I would be terrified.
Like 16
They would put you in Guantanamo, you
It
monster.
would be like
Corey,
it would be like RoboCop. I'd be shot so much my arms would blow off.
Who would shoot you in the head? Who would do the last shot?
All women and children.
What? Together?
Yeah.
Corey, let me give you one last President Corey thing, right? Worst thing to ever hit America, a dirty bomb goes off in Times Square, New York, 1 million people dead. You have to make a speech to your people, to your citizens. What do you say?
I'm sorry. This is devastating to everyone and everyone else in the world. So we decided to put a big blanket over the explosion. That way, we can save money on resources and we can say goodnight to all of them.
You're
Put
gonna
them all to
spend
sleep.
like $50 million netting a huge blanket to throw over New
Put
York's
over
hole.
corpses and the fucking smoldering ashes, you freak. What are you talking about?
The blanket's just gonna get sticky and rot over the city.
You don't know what kind of blanket it is.
What's it made out of?
What's it made out of? Corey, what's it made out of?
It's that blue tarp shit.
Oh, that solves everything.
Corey, does it or does it not have Big Sonic the Hedgehog face on top? Alright, let's end this fucking segment. Jesus Christ.
A giant Sonic the Hedgehog memorial over fucking
The astronauts are looking
This is
down.
9/11 times like a million.
Yeah, I know.
And you put fucking Sonic the Hedgehog smiling.
That's all we decided, like, just put a big tarp over it and walk.
Oh, throw a fucking blanket over it.
Sonic wagging his finger up at the fucking satellites.
The astronauts are like throwing up in space.
Meanwhile, fucking Iraq is laughing its ass off.
Yeah, because
What? They
It's
got
fucked
Sonic.
up, dude. They have like a brown Sonic. I should not have said that. Alright, let's move on.
anyways, that's my presidential
You should
campaign.
not have said that. Alright,
So Nikki, what color shoes
Hashtag
do you
Corey 2016.
hashtag brown Sonic. Alright.
Nikki.
Yes.
He doesn't use rings, he
you
uses
asked something
rupees.
about artistry, being an artist.
You're back to art school.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 hours
Nuclear
later.
devastation. Yeah. So going from a Sonic the Hedgehog talk over nuclear devastated New York.
Where you brought up
back to art
Sonic?
school.
You brought up Sonic. You brought up my supposed addiction.
God bless you, Corey.
What do you guys think of? What do you guys think of Sonic fan art on DeviantArt?
I don't like Sonic fan art unless it's like.
What do you think of Sonic original characters? Have you ever made a Sonic original character?
I never did, but I
I
was a
did,
fan
but I
of it
was
as a
really
kid.
bad at it, so I kind of stopped.
Is it Corey the Hedgehog?
No, it was
Corey
never
the
It
cat.
wasn't like a blue Sonic with a green coat. That's or blue
It was-
Sonic with a green coat.
It was Sonic. It was Sonic with Corey's glasses and a haircut.
Corey, if you could make like an Avengers type team out of like cartoon characters,
Fucking
who
Christ,
would be
Jeff.
like your cartoon dream team?
This will be chaos, Jeff. Why'd you set this up?
Jesus.
So finally, I've crossed the
Cartoon Dream
line.
Team.
Like would Sonic be the leader,
No, Sonic would die.
and then, like the apple.
Why would he die, Corey?
Yeah, how would he die?
What's that pony called? Apple pie.
Sonic
apple,
would get his head
something?
stepped on by Peter Griffin,
He'd
Homer
choke on a
Simpson,
chili
Goku, Squidward.
Yeah, I would have Goku, Squidward, Peter Griffin.
Hold on, let me go. It's my thing. Okay, Goku, SpongeBob, Peter Griffin, Squidward,
Fuck you, Corey.
Tommy Pickles,
Big the Cat.
Goku Jr., aka Gohan.
Sheen.
We need a big robot.
Skeeter from Doug.
Skeeter from Doug will be the big robot.
Yeah.
Lino or Panthro. No Thundercats.
They're
No
pussies.
Thundercats.
I guess I could throw in an 80s cartoon.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
He-Man.
Do the rat
Street
guy.
Sharks.
Do Rat Boy.
Street
Yes!
Sharks.
Street Sharks, yes!
I used to watch that show.
What about the Silverhawks? What about that little monkey Silverhawk with the chrome armor? Do you remember him? Never mind.
I need to call up Harry and ask him some 80s
You'd like him,
cartoons.
Chris. He's a monkey.
Really?
Yeah.
I like
He's
monkeys.
a little monkey.
Okay.
He can fly.
What about you, Nikki?
I would make him.
I know, but on the monkey thing, I've watched so many fucking gorilla videos since I've been here. I'm trying to keep a tally of how many times Chris comes over. He's like, look at this funny video.
It's a monkey.
And it's a gorilla throwing shit.
Yeah, it's just a screaming gorilla.
And Chris is laughing. He's got the biggest
It's
grin.
weird
It's
because
fucking
Chris
Christmas
sits on he
morning.
sits on his ass and rocks back and forth and claps his hands like a monkey. he turns into a monkey whenever he watches those.
Chris is in a transition right now.
I like monkeys. I like apes. I like mighty great apes.
But they're scary.
they're not.
They're violent.
They're gentle giants that go.
Yeah.
Are you sure they
If
do
you
that?
let them sniff your hair, if you don't, they'll rip your skin off and give it back to
Corey,
you.
you need to know. You need to know the correct touch. You need to walk up, put your hand on the big gorilla's huge forehead, and you just say "Hi-yo." and
What
then
if
the
I did
gorilla will
this?
go, "Oh, oh," and then he's yours.
What if I did this to the gorilla?
He has to be your slave for a million years.
What if I did this to the gorilla?
Explain what you're doing,
You
Corey.
beat your hands
Wait, I
together.
have a
No,
question. I have a
like-
question for Chris.
Yeah.
I did the remove the thumb trick. What would the
What?
gorilla do then?
If a gorilla and a bear were in a fight, who do you think would win?
The
Gorilla.
gorilla would fucking rip the bear's head off and throw it at
The
a
bear,
bear.
might, the
Bears are fucking
The
like
bear
a
could get a
grizzly
couple-
bear.
No, but a gorilla would be like, oh, and then he would pick up the bear and throw him into the sun.
Like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, but the bear has teeth and claws.
Yeah, but have you seen a gorilla's fangs? They're fucking huge.
Jeff.
Do gorillas bite people?
Yes. Do
Jeff,
bears
who-
have opposable thumbs? Didn't think so. Do bears have fucking hands on their feet? I didn't
No,
think
bears
so.
Bears
have
can-
strong ass teeth.
Yeah.
Do
with
bears-
Run and run
mouths.
up
Do
there.
bears have
crazy
fucking
sharp
cinder
claws.
block foreheads? I
They have
didn't think
claws like
so.
that though. What? What's
Jeff,
up?
I got a serious question.
Yeah, serious.
Yeah, very serious.
Mm-hmm.
different, changing the pace for the podcast for once.
Finally.
Who would win in a fight?
Yeah.
Here it comes.
The Terminator or Tito from Rocket Power? Now answer carefully,
I've
Jeff.
never. Who's Tito from Rocket Power?
It's the worst cartoon ever.
He gives life advice from the ancient Hawaiians.
He's like,
He
hello,
wears
Tito.
flip-flops.
The voice actor died from brain cancer. Like,
Who's
the
the
year
other
the show
one?
was canceled.
Really?
Yeah, that's real. He
Who's
dead.
the other one?
As the ancient
The
Hawaiians used to
T-1000?
say.
It's your lies. You say, "Ow, my brain!" Oh,
Zach,
what?
come on.
Here.
He's not gonna hear me. He's fucking dead.
Who would win?
Oh yeah.
Do you guys remember in that show when Tony Hawk
Yeah,
was
Tony
on
Hawk!
it? And they hyped it up so much,
Yeah.
and when you watched it, he was at the very end. It was
Yeah.
like 1 minute,
And
and,
he's a
you were
fucking-
like, that was it?
He's a fucking orange blob on the screen that they drew really badly.
Yeah, he's like, wow, you guys got some rad skill. You want to skate? And it's over.
Yeah, at the beginning of the episode, it's like, whoa, it's Tony Hawk! And it's like, he does a flip, and then he's shitty looking, and he doesn't look anything like Tony Hawk. He's this orange dude with yellow hair and a helmet. Bye, Zach.
Zach, where are you going?
He's going upstairs to watch Tony Hawk and Rocket Power.
Rocket Power.
There's the P again. You have to say that thing about the artistry.
You fucker, get up!
One to
Come
ask.
on,
Art
get down
history?
with the
Artist.
sickness!
Being an artist, successful artist, or whatever.
Oh.
Getting your
Who would win in a fight? Marty McFly or
T-1000.
Mark Summers,
Marty
the
McFly.
host of the Nickelodeon game shows Double Dare.
Marty
Marty McFly, because he has the hoverboard, and he can just...
Yeah, and
Yeah, but Mark Summers has a lot of slime though.
He would throw dirt on Mark Summers, and Mark Summers loses shit. OCD. He'd like wash his skin off, and that'd be the end of it.
Mark Summers would spray Marty with slime, and Marty would be like, whoa, this is heavy! And then he'd drown and die. Okay, Zach is a real topic. What is
I'm
it?
not even fucking associate you. And our guest, what's her face, can fucking talk about it, so that's good.
Clitdax. Go.
hurry up.
Establishing yourself as an artist.
There we go.
Yes,
First, you walk onto
recently-
internet. You show your picture.
Show your pussy.
You
Stop
make
your
sure
runaway.
to
Go to
include
chat,
your
mate.
signature.
Go on, chat.
Mickey, talk about establishing yourself as an artist.
Alright, recently I left my office job after 2 years. And I did a lot of stupid paperwork there. And now I'm trying to do art full-time, which I'm not really sure what that means, but so far I've only done commissions, and I don't like doing commissions. So I'm trying to figure out how to establish yourself as an artist.
What I first did when I started out, because like getting noticed and stuff, first of all, you're already established. People know your art. They think you're very good at what you do, and people know and they see it. So you're not really in the area where people are still like, hey, look at me. You're out of that. But I guess establishing it now is kind of like making it
Solidifying.
Some points, like, how can I make enough money where I am
I would say this, like, the hardest part is what you've already done. The hardest part, let's use an airplane as an analogy. The hardest part is taking off. Once you get there, you're good. You just need to stabilize it at that point.
Yeah, you're basically.
So you've already established your brand of who you are. I would just say.
Here's what hold on, like to go on what you're saying, because that's a good analogy. Here's where you basically are. You're at that point where they're telling you can turn on your cell phones and computers now. That's where you are. So you're at the top point where the flight has just started. Now you can start doing shit.
Now you can fuck around.
Now you can fuck around.
I would just say always be aware of. This is a big problem with artists, because artists are terrible business people, terrible. So I would just say be conscious of what is going on and what's going to keep you afloat, but that also you want to do. Like a lot of people, I'm trying to think examples. A lot of people will refuse to be consistent. Be consistent. So like for this shitty podcast that everyone hates, we should all kill ourselves. In the real world, guns. I'm gonna buy a gun. I'm gonna kill myself in the mouth with a gun. The bullet's gonna hit my brain and kill me. But
do sawed-off shotguns.
No.
Wait, before that, I think it'd be really funny. What are those contraptions called where it's like you set one thing off and it's like continuous?
Jeff's talked about this a lot of times. This is Jeff's suicide
Goldberg
method.
machine.
Yeah.
That would be very funny.
That's Jeff's
The
suicide
Rube
method.
Goldberg,
Yeah.
isn't it? Is that what it's called?
What?
The Rube Goldberg?
Yeah, I think.
That's like the name of the guy that invented it, I guess.
But anyway, my point is, we release this podcast every Friday. I would say that's the first of it, is being consistent. Then I would start to branch out once you have consistency. Once you start getting money from doing the thing consistently, start finding other ways of income, and then use that income to start branching out however you can. I think that's important. Is to just branch out and don't stay stagnant. Don't just plateau.
Yeah, expand.
If you plateau, you're gonna stay plateau. You might even lose some money.
Yeah. For instance, I used to back in the day. specifically use YouTube only, and YouTube in like Newgrounds. I use nothing else, and only recently, maybe like a few years ago, I've gotten into Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr, and I use all that stuff to expand my art. And it helps because it gets more people. Because some people don't use Twitter a lot. Some people use only Twitter and don't use Facebook.
So how would I use YouTube if I just draw? Like I don't animate.
paint.
For you, I think it's a big example. I would say find the equivalent of it. So basically, look what you could do and then grab that. Look what you could do if you expanded. So think of what you would do if you're going to expand.
Yeah, for instance, if you did an art thing, you did a big art thing, people sometimes want to see the process of that. Like Shad uploads speed arts all the time when he gets a chance, and people like seeing that. You can upload that to YouTube, and you can put the art stuff on your like site you want to do. And then if you had a consistent art, because you have a very fun like cartoon style, and you could have a site where you have people do comics and stuff and stay consistent, and then people could look up specifically stuff from you. You could do stuff on your Twitter and just interact.
Also, I'd like to point out Shadman, a good friend of the podcast.
Ew.
Whoa.
Ew.
Oh, fuck off.
Hello, I am Shadman.
No, but he also only draws too. But what he'll do is he'll put on YouTube and put speed paints.
Yeah,
of him drawing and do a time lapse.
Yeah, I love those.
So there's a lot of ways you can do. I would just say don't think inside the box. Think of it. What ways can I expand? How do I get to those goals? And how do I keep from fucking imploding myself? Because once I said, if you crawl out of the swamp and you fucking stabilize in the air, you got to keep going. You have to keep getting momentum. You can't just stagnate. That's the most important thing I would say is establish yourself. But I mean, I think we could all talk about too even the first step of how you establish yourself. A lot of people can't make it that far. That's hard for a lot of people too.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, also kind of establishing yourself is doing that thing that, kind of doing something that makes you stick out.
Yeah.
Like
not even. I would say be original. Yeah.
Because like Shad does lots of Shad does art of all categories. He doesn't have and I'm kind of the same way. I don't like the idea of doing boring art like porn and stuff anyone else can see. Anyone can see a girl fucking a guy. Anyone can see a girl with big old titties hanging out.
Nice.
Anyone can see a dude sitting there with his dick hanging out. But then there's specific things people want to see that nobody sees. And it's like, I want to do that. I want to make the stuff that nobody sees but wants to see. And you know there's people out there who like that stuff but don't want to say it. So you do that, and that establishes you as like, oh, he does this stuff, and then that kind of expands. But that's more important.
I would just say, as far as establishing yourself, I wouldn't, because that's a broad thing. If you're a cartoonist or an animator or a musician, do whatever makes you unique. I would say don't try to be unique, just be yourself, as gay as that sounds.
Yeah.
Not to fucking Mr. Rogers it up here, but just just do what you want to do. Don't think, oh, Minecraft parodies are all do those for now. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do stuff that's
if you want to do parodies and get a little bit of a bigger audience to start off, that's fine. But parody stuff you like. So don't jump on the fucking Flappy Bird because it's the hottest thing for this week. If you're gonna parody stuff or do anything like that to get a bigger audience, that's fine, but just make sure it's genuine. And you can look back in 5 years and laugh at it.
And actually, make it actually funny if you're going to at least do that.
Yeah, that's something we talked about. Because it's like, if you're thinking about it, and this is something that I think we talked about a while ago, that when you die, what do you want to be remembered for?
Let's talk about our shittiest cartoons ever and why we made them.
The shittiest thing you've ever made.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
What's the shittiest thing you made in the story about?
Cloud robbery. I'll say it. Cloud robbery. I hate that. And let me clarify. Let me footnote this.
All right.
Let me assert this. Jeff did a great job with the clown. I'm proud of the animation I did in that. I'm proud of everything except for the writing. The writing in that is filth. I hate the writing in that. And I think Jeff salvaged it the best he could with his voice acting, but I butchered that cartoon so badly, and I spent so long on it that I hate it.
You're way too hard on yourself.
Maybe I am, but...
It's like... It's not bad at worst. It's not bad at all.
That's my point. That's why I hate it.
If it was like horrible, then you should kill yourself. But it's not bad.
The fact that it's not even horrible, entertaining, it's also not great. It's like a weird
I like it. It's not bad.
It's still better than almost everything on animated on YouTube.
It was because I was rusty and I was trying to come back after like a year. I was like, oh, this is my big comeback video. And I just fucking hated it.
It's really weird coming back from not doing
That's
anything.
what I mean. I was just like, oh, that's how you do videos, right? The feedback was alright, but it was one of those things where I was super insecure with the small things.
Yeah.
So the one out of like every 1,000 comments, I was like, the writing was terrible. I was like, oh! Oh,
You're fucking
they know.
Well, we should append this. You guys should say what you feel like your worst was and what you think your fans think the worst was.
Oh, I think my fans probably hate Pokemon the worst, and that's one of those videos that I hate.
Have I seen Pokemon?
It's really bad. It's one of those videos that I hate, but it's not like Cloud Robbery. Like I can watch Pokemon and laugh, like that's terrible. Yeah, it's a funny kind of. I hate it.
Pokemon is the
it's
funniest
just bad.
shit.
I can just laugh at it.
My worst one is the Wacky Game Jokes parody I made.
I like that one. I love that one.
That's the worst one I ever made.
I like it when the hair goes backwards.
It's
was that a parody of wacky game jokes for kids? Or something? Okay.
It was just random nonsense. Like that's all it was. It was just try hard randomness. There's no sense to it. It's.
I like the part where he punches her and bites her vagina off.
Yeah, it's like that just sounds like a fucking guy who's like, guys, isn't this funny? Put me in your scriptwriting team. Like it's fucking gay, but I guess people. Look, that's my worst.
Nal walked in at the perfect moment. Nal, Pokemon, ain't it the best?
Pokemon, okay, wait. There's the thing that makes me laugh most about Pokemon is the fact that Zach just started getting popular at the time, so I like just to think of him scrambling to make shit, just to be like, oh, I have to keep up with all my new fans, and he just makes something that it's pretty much unintentionally the perfect formulaic Flash cartoon. It's brilliant. It's a masterpiece in its own way.
It's weird. Not to compare myself to anybody that is remotely good, but Larry David ever talked about he compared it to a game of golf or a game of sex or comedy where if he plays a really bad game of golf, the next game he plays is really good. And I feel like that with my videos. I feel like if I do a really, really bad video, if I do the worst video, the next video is always the best one. If you look at my videos and look at the release dates, I feel like my worst videos and my best videos are always back to back. At least to me. Because I'll do a really bad one, they'll be like, oh, fuck it, I don't even care. Fuck these people, these idiots. And I'll make a video and be like, fuck you. And they're like, oh, I like this. I'll be like, all right. I'm not that bad. I'll make a video and be horrible because I have this weird ego going into it. It's a weird. Does anybody else feel like that? Do you have a weird kind of flow to it?
Yeah.
It's like organic or something.
You might try to experiment and it doesn't go as well.
Exactly.
Do you ever get mad something's too popular?
What's that?
You ever get mad you ever get mad something you make is too popular and too quoted? Like your
my Error TV video got
or
exploded, and then people were constantly.
Yeah. I got tired of the Ego Rapture.
Yeah, Ego Rapture was quoted a lot.
I'm fucking sick. I'm sick of fucking Dragon's Ball P.
Oh my god, dude.
I'm so sick of it.
Oh my god.
I'm so sorry I made that. I'm sorry.
Ego Rapture still, when I did that thing for Aaron, I was still getting people quoting Ego Rapture. It's it's good to see things just can't die. They just live forever.
It's called Ego Rapture.
Rapture, yeah.
Okay, can I talk about two things?
Yeah.
Did she answer, Chris? You big dick.
This bitch?
This fucking slut right here.
This fucking coon.
Disco.
What's the worst thing you ever made? What's the worst thing you ever made?
Changing her guns around?
Come on, bitch.
Come on, answer, lady. Come on. Come on, show daddy what you got.
Shake those hot topics.
I don't make offensive cartoons like you guys. You bad guys over here, you criminals.
Good.
You offensive pieces of shit.
What's something you're like, man, I wish I had not have done that, put that out? There's something you've done where you're like, I should not have done that?
No, I try to stay away from that. I try not
so
to offend people.
Oh, look at you. Oh, look at you.
Little Miss G-rated over here.
That you thought
she's
was
not drawing all of us dead half the time all day.
Whatever.
Wait, can I say one thing? No, two things. Okay, wait.
One thing,
What? I was in a Skype call. Should I talk? Fuck.
That's what I want to say.
Zach, many years ago, I was in a Skype call with you. I said, Zach, I can do a perfect Vegeta impression, and I did it.
Yeah.
And then we both wrote a really stupid script, and then we made it into Dragon's Ball P, right?
Literally, what happened, it was a little bit different than that, slightly different.
Yeah.
You were like, yes, go Vegeta, whatever you did.
Yeah.
And I typed what did I produce say? And I was like, record this. And you did it, and then you animated that.
Yeah.
It was 4 lines.
Yeah,
and then,
it was the Super
and then you turned that four lines into a whole cartoon.
Yeah, right. So that's how that came. And I liked the first one. I really enjoyed making it. And then I started making the second one because I always wanted to do something with Frieza because I love Frieza. But the second one didn't turn out how I wanted it to. And Zach saved it. Zach wrote the ending to it because he's a genius.
Oh,
with the fucking Goku coming towards the earth.
I don't know. That's when I was visiting Ireland, and I was like, you know, get on that end. So I was like, what if... You know, Goku's face gets really big sometimes, like in the clouds. I was like, what if the pans out? He's just a huge giant slant to the
I was like, Goku's face will smile down on them. And I was gonna write another joke for that, but then Zach had the perfect ending, so he did that. But what I'm trying to say here is, I enjoyed making one. 2, I got stressed out while making it, and I started not liking it. And then when I released it, I was like, I'm not happy with it, except Zach saved it.
I feel like the first half of what's bad, but the second half is good too.
Yeah. Like
the first half is kind of weak.
I'm just trying to say, I didn't mean for it to become this fucking plague of YouTube icons and fucking.
Dude, did I tell you?
Dude, I didn't think the same when I. Like,
Can I? Sorry, I just want to say something about Dragon Ball P. I was on like some video. I was going through like weird, like deep videos. I was kept going through them, and I got to some weird like eugenics debate. And one guy was like, I was reading his comment, and he was like, all niggers and kikes should be massacred. And he had a fucking Dragon Ball P icon. And I was like, oh my god.
Wait.
Whoa, should I say anything?
I'm not done yet. Wait, I just wanted to say, I'm glad people like it, but it's one of those things where it got too big, and I don't like that, because now that's what I'm known for, and like, everyone grows in their art. Everyone grows away from things. I've grown away from that now. When people come up and say, I love Dragon Ball P, I don't know what to say anymore because I don't think it's very good.
It's funny, though.
I like the first one for being funny, and I like the end of the second one for being funny. But what really pisses me off, what really infuriates me, okay, that's the same thing. But what makes me sad...
Aggravates you, upsets you.
What upsets me is Leviosa 1 was the same deal. I thoroughly enjoyed making that, and I liked the first one. And then the second one, I was so super try-hard. And I was like, she pretty much gets raped. And I thought it was funny at the time. And
your original version was really creepy.
It was worse. It was worse.
If you could believe that his original... You know me, I was like, Chris, that's too rapey.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember in the original one, she actually pretty much gets raped. So in the new one... I made her enjoy it.
She's lightheartedly.
Yeah. All it took was
before she was screaming, stop!
No. All it took to change it was a facial expression. I changed her scared face into a happy face.
Because it's playful. It's cute.
I want to say I don't like that cartoon anymore, and I'm glad people like it, but I don't like it, and I think. That's it.
Let's give a shout out to Bryce Pirate for doing all those voices for you guys.
Fucking Bryce Pirate did the perfect Severus.
Handsome Mick. Calvin Klein, as they call him.
Mine was Ego Rapture, and what's ironic is it was supposed to
stop that.
Yeah, it was like shut up, open your fucking eyes, stop repeating yourself, parrots, and but instead it just caused it even more so. Like it was a fucking flat-on war. It's just like it brought the soldiers in and fucking unleashed them on everyone that was doing stuff. Yeah, so
that's exactly mirrored by my
Yeah. I made the video, and it was specifically to make fun of the people who say everything is related to Ego Raptor. That's why people were going around being like, Ego Raptor delivers a pizza and like stuff like that. Yeah. It was a joke. It was like, okay, Ego Raptor's God. He does everything. He's in everything. He's literally the messiah of animation. Yeah. And then I made a stupid dumbass parody from that of him like doing everything, and then people were like, and they go to anything that resembles Ego Raptor, they would quote that. Not ironically, but angrily. Like it would be like an ironic joke where people would get it and it would kind of be insulting. So these people who spend time on this stuff, even if it resembled something slightly to Ego Raptor, there'd be a million Ego Raptor quotes and the fucking video would be downvoted to hell and back. And it's just like, I felt so bad because it's like, I didn't mean... And I don't want to sound arrogant, but it's like I didn't mean to like cause these people to go out and just fucking specifically trigger these videos and ruin these people's days. It's like I just made a fucking video because I wanted them to stop like making comparisons.
When I did my early to the Lee video, was reaction like yours. It was like your video was mine was like basically like a big shut up.
Yeah,
shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
I think all it did was kind of I think it stopped it a little bit. It had some like a fraction to do with like people stopped doing that, but of course all the top comments were.
The future fucking cunt,
Yeah.
That's your fault.
Yeah. Jeff, what about you?
Something I regret making?
Like, no, the people overquoted a lot. You're just like, oh god, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
The first Tech-Man cartoon I made was quoted a lot. I can't even fucking remember the lines now. It's like,
hey, I'm gonna be a dad.
I'm gonna shoot my dick off. Like,
I like how that was quoted.
I love Stanford's.
Stanford's parody was the best because it was stupid and pointless.
It got really weird too because people started hating. It got too popular for its own good on Newgrounds at the time, where people started getting mad and saying, "Oh, it's just a bunch of dick jokes," and then they start making these like hateful parodies of it. And then one night, this kid sent me this hateful parody, and clearly he was just like trying to take shots at me with it, and I'm just like. I'll show you how to do a hateful fucking parody. And I made one poking fun at myself even harder than he was, and I sent it back to him like, no, this is how you make fun of me, asshole. And that ended up being like almost as popular as like the original one, which was even weirder.
What was it called? Was
It was the one where the characters say nothing but cock and balls the whole thing. It was like cock and balls, cock and balls, cock. I don't know. It just went on and just. Anyway, it's probably not even funny anymore. But.
Jeff, when's the big trilogy gonna come out? The third one.
You know, I wrote several more, and I started making it, but it just ended up being like 15 minutes long, and I'm just like, this is. I kind of quit making them because it started to stress me out because I felt like I wasn't getting better as an artist making them because
they're simple characters.
Yeah, they're so limited and simple. I'm just like, shit, I'm not really getting any better here. So even though people liked them and I liked writing them,
Is that the go-to thing people say when they meet you?
They're like,
the creative technique.
Nah, not anymore. I don't know. It's sort of. I guess at this point they're kind of fading into history, as they say. A lot of people still remember them, but I mean, I haven't made one since
2005 or 6.
I made the first one in 2006, and like the last one was like 2009 or something.
Oh wow.
So,
Nikki.
Yes, Corey.
Sticky Nicky.
Who are artists you guys like when you were younger that you rediscovered recently? Like who are your biggest inspirations as artists? Like online at least. When you were younger.
Legendary Frog.
Oh my god.
It's true.
Holy.
I would say my biggest were like Legendary Frog.
He inspired people. He really did. He I liked
his cartoons when I was
He got Aaron into fucking animation.
Yeah.
Aaron got me into animation.
That's nuts. How
old? You know who I used to watch? I think he's really underrated. Gene Goldstein. I used to watch his videos when I was like.
I don't know who that is.
He did a series called Hyperboy.
Really?
Yeah, I was a big fan of it when I was younger.
Oh, you showed me that, and that's what Zach looks like, kind of.
It's a really scary story because when I was really young,
For artists, for me, it's kind of like I don't remember the artist, but I remember at one point there's like because for me, I'm not like fawning over like concept artists. I'm more fawning over porn I used to jerk off to. So the artist that I used to jerk off to, like you remember it because it's kind of weird because it's like that threshold where it's like you see porn. Threshold. You see porn now, and it's like these new artists who come out who do porn. It's just like there's just like style that it's like it's almost like so evolved, like coloring and stuff. It's really good. Then you look at stuff from like 2008 and 6, and it's all very like fucking like Christian school coloring book crap, and it's like what the fuck? It's like I used to think this was like hot, and it's just very basic. There's like no shade.
I recall fucking thinking the Return of Ganondorf by Legendary Frog was the best video on the internet. The best.
I used to love it.
Yeah, Jeff, you know what I'm talking about.
I never was a huge fan of that from day one.
I was a little bit younger than you though when that came out, so forgive me for being a fucking retard.
It's alright.
My favorite video was the thing Aaron made 100 years ago, the Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I like
nutshell.
Yeah.
That was the funniest. That was the funniest shit to me when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
It was just hilarious. It was just stupid. It was
I didn't even watch Dragon Ball Z, and I was like,
I know. It's just like whenever he's like, I'm gonna be Super Saiyan, and then they're like, nah, you're not gonna be Super Saiyan. He's on toilet. He's like,
Aaron didn't even make that video. Some like guy took his audio. And
he made the audio, but didn't make the video.
Well, the guy who made the video was a genius because it was fucking hilarious. It was just funny when they were like, we're gonna save the world, and then like Trunks and comes out, it's like, but you guys can't. You're like 8, and they're like, shut up. It's funny now, but at the time it's really snappy and quick. Even back then.
It was the fucking brain of an ADHD child.
Yeah.
In a good way.
No, it was great.
That's why it appealed.
Did you ever go to the site called stickdeath.com?
I loved it.
Yes.
Greens versus blues and shit.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you
the Beast was like the coolest
the
shit
Beast.
to me. Yeah.
I made a fan animation of the Beast.
Me too. I made it in MS Paint though.
I made an animation shop 3 when I was younger. I got free with Paint Shop Pro 8 on my 13th birthday.
Dude, I fucking love Stick Death. Me and my friends would just after school we'd go like do this new Stick Death cartoon. We just watch it and laugh.
Go on YouTube and type in The Ground's Not Safe 3D. That's like one of my first animations that I made it in Animation Shop 3 where there's no layers. You have to do like frame by frame. So what I do is I make a background, copy it over like 50 frames, then go back and put the sticks on top of the background.
Yeah.
So I used to make cartoons like that, but it's on YouTube.
Oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
There's also one more. Sorry, Zach, 'cause I know you want to say it. There was also Joe Cartoons, I think it was.
Do you remember StartupSteve.com?
No.
That website was shit.
Can I say while we're on Stick Page or Stick Death? I used to use a website called StickPage.com too.
That's still around.
Stick Page, yeah.
No. But one time, this is a story. My brother forgot the T, right? Now, StickPage.com was a real website that was registered. It was a very pornographic website.
Oh my god!
And we were children. He was exactly looking at this. I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Look at this." And I was like, "Holy fuck!" I remember what the video was. It was like some chick blowing a big black guy on top of like a luggage cart for a hotel. And I was like, "What?" That was like my first real experience to like porn. I was like, "Oh my god,
dude." Zach, once I was like, I don't know if I told this story, but we were on the computer, me and my sister. It was a joint like party. It was a joint party.
Joint venture, yeah.
We were like, let's look at like naughty sites.
How old were you?
I was young.
How old was your
Because
sister?
I didn't know that typing into the address bar would forever save it in the history.
Oh,
so
no. That's gonna be rough later, isn't it?
yeah, so I was in the address bar, and my sister.
Corey, you fuck what'd you do?
And my sister just like typed in men's dick. It was like the most basic.
Did you also
stuff.
want to see that too?
No, I was like, okay, because I wanted to see if there's actual sites, so she put in men's dick, and I was like, whoa, and then I'm gonna put in girls' pussy, and we were like doing that, and then we were putting in like big farts and stuff. Like we were putting all this stuff in the search history and laughing, and we went upstairs. My dad called her name. We went down.
Oh god, the feeling of dread you must have had.
We went down because we thought we hit all. We thought we were sneaky little kids that like cleared the history. We didn't know it was still in the fucking address because we cleared the history. And he's like, he had like flipped the thing around, and the first thing was like men's dick was like this cowboy guy showing his like dick with like tilting his head and stuff. And he's like, what the fuck is that? I was like petrified. And he's like, oh, you thought you were all sneaky? I'll clear the fucking history. Little did you know, you put it in the address bar, which saves it permanently. Go to your room. I was terrified. But did you ever do something like that?
I did something kind of similar. I pissed my parents off. My friend Brett and I, we were like, God, we must have been like fucking 8, from 9 maybe. And we figured out about calling the operator. Mm-hmm. We called, we're like, hey, can you put us through to Jim Carrey? And he was like, excuse me, we hung up. We called back, and my friend asked to see Sonic the Hedgehog. And he was being serious. He's like, put me through Sonic the Hedgehog. And they called back, and they called my dad, and they were like, we're gonna call the fucking cops if you keep calling asking for Sonic the Hedgehog, because we're fucking clogging the lines with this shit. They were mad, dude. They were not happy.
Why is everyone in our group like obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog?
I was 7.
Guys, it's really fucking hot in here. It's like
I know.
sauna.
Let's end it.
I'm dying.
Let's end it. Okay. So in closing,
Jeff John Utah went on to make the funniest Minecraft parodies, including Markiplier as a guest in them. He became rich. He became very rich, and he blew his brains out with a gun. Chris went on to go to a gorilla exhibit and throw himself in the pit and became one of the gorillas.
Zach went to old people home, and he learned how to perfect his character drawing, so when old people were dying, he could draw them ugly and make them laugh at themselves until they die into a coma and laugh into a coma. Fuck you, Zach. This is my ending. Fuck you.
Nikki went on to have a wide vagina that everyone looked away from when they saw it.
A barbed wire.
Zach went on to have a big penis, and he had a lot of money, and he also had a lot of sexy girlfriends, and he also...
Zach went on...
He was the coolest kid in school, and nobody could even pick him up because he was also the captain of the football team.
Zach was stuck in his own brain, where he constantly considered himself as a beautiful man, even though he was in a coma for the rest of his life. And he fucking whittled away with no penis.
There's a talent there to see you wet vagina up again.
This is a Rooster Teeth production.
Since the 1400s, there has existed a very bizarre phenomenon. Without any discernible source of ignition, individuals would burst into flames. It is believed that the source of the fire came from within their own bodies. So today, we're going to analyze the history of spontaneous human combustion. This is Red Web. Welcome back to another Mystery Monday. I'm Trevor Collins. With me, as always, Alfredo Diaz, coming in with the gut check, perhaps.
Wait, that's
what?
Is this? It's a real thing.
We're talking about spontaneous human combustion. Who knows?
I mean, I guess, it's a conspiracy, but like for real?
Is it real?
I thought it was just something that's in the movies.
It's in the movies and it's in real life, so, purportedly. All right, so this is going to be another one of those interesting episodes that we do that kind of breaks the mold, kind of like the Randonautica one, where it's another ongoing mystery series that we're talking about. It's a topic that doesn't really have an opening shut case. It's just an ever-living mystery that we want to kind of take a look at. Some classic cases of what's going on here, some stories, some firsthand accounts, and then we'll make our own conclusions at the end, you know?
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's, oh man.
So you've only heard of this in the movies?
Yeah, I've only, it's like, oh, such and such, what happened? Oh, I don't know. They spontaneously combusted. And, like, it's just in the movies. That's all I know about. Just like, this is a thing in the movies. I didn't think that this was something that was, well, I don't want to say real, but debated to be real.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, to be fair.
Cool. I mean, you don't hear on the news or see on like a Twitter trending that someone just combusted.
Right. News today as another person drops dead from flames out of their God knows what.
Out of their gullet.
Out of the gullet. Yeah, it's super interesting. And honestly, you don't hear about it a whole lot. So I don't blame you for kind of associating that with movies and whatnot. Just pop culture in general has really latched onto it as an idea. But yeah, it's really fascinating. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down some classic cases, looking back into the history of this phenomenon and kind of how it got its start, perhaps, or the first kind of encounters with it. Obviously, it has to have a first documented instance. And then we're going to talk about some more modern cases because it does have a very long history of occurrences, but they're all very rare and few and far between. So we'll jump around and kind of see if we can start to figure out any commonalities before diving into just the phenomenon as a whole and any theories trying to address it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is different.
Let's get the task force badges just on straight. Here we go. And let's dive in. Get your notepads out, okay? Because we're gonna be scribbling down a lot of we're gonna be actively trying to solve this.
Damn.
All right. So the first recorded case of spontaneous human combustion occurred all the way back in 1470. It was an Italian knight named Polonius Vorstius who had been heavily drinking wine in his home. His parents saw this happen and claimed that Polonius was vomiting fire at the time. And that's a simple story. That's all we really know about this first instance. And we'll kind of dive into why later. But yes, it's a very small encounter, not a whole lot of detail there, but you might pick up, even in the small details, some commonalities between this and some other ones. So let's flash forward a few centuries here. In 1726, there was an innkeeper named Nicole Millay, who was also recorded to having passed away from spontaneous human combustion. She was also known to be a heavy drinker, so we have a commonality there, boom, flag. And her skull and some vertebrae were the only bones found, in addition to her feet that were left entirely unburned, by the way. So now in the remains, you have some ashes, you have some vertebrae in the back, you have the skull, and you have two entirely unburned, almost untouched feet.
All right, see, here comes the whole crazy conspiracy portion.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me these people vomiting fire? That sounds just real unfortunate.
Oh, painful.
Painful. How do you recover from that?
I would say one doesn't.
I mean, you could gut check. You could persuade me and say chemical X, Y, and Z mix within the gut or something like that, and then here we go, boom,
bada boom, bada bing.
It just stops burning once it gets to the feet.
Man, that was a nat 20 persuasion roll right there. I think you were putting down some good numbers. Yeah, so not a whole lot of people have come out of this alive, and we'll kind of get around to that. But yeah, regardless of it taking their lives in that moment or later on due to wounds or whatever, but yeah, it doesn't sound like a fantastic way to go if one were to select. But what's even further more interesting about this case here, not only just the feet that were unburned, but there was a straw bed and a wooden piece of furniture nearby that were also entirely unaffected by the fire.
Okay. All right. Okay. Come. Okay. All right. Okay.
You've seen Hereditary. You've seen how that can, happen, right? That's a documentary right there.
Yeah. Total documentary. It really happened.
So as you can imagine, right, Millay's husband was suspected of having murdered her because you're like, all right, exactly your reaction. Come on, right? Well, suspected of murder. However, there was the testimony of a doctor named Dr. Claude Nicolas Lecat, or Dr. the Cat, if you want to be English about it, convinced a court that her death was an act of God. And that's it. So the husband walks free. They determine that it's not a murder of any sort, and that something else was going on here, that there was some sort of phenomenon. In fact, Millet's story was written about, and I'm going to struggle here because it's Latin, but in the De Insidis Corporis Humani Spontaneus, which is the first reliable source of information regarding this phenomenon. It's an old text that kind of documented cases of spontaneous human combustion, bringing it into the public eye as a potential threat rather than just a scary story. And it's actually the same document or text that inspired Charles Dickens to include it in his novel, Bleak House. So that's how it's starting to enter the pop culture realm, all the way back in the 1700s. I can hear you struggling. I can hear, you're a little flabbergasted. I believe it.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me back then, to just be like, God did that. You know what I mean? We had witch hunts back then and all kinds of weird stuff. Things that humans didn't understand. So they were just like, crazy stuff happened. Magic.
Yeah. To be fully burned down to the skull and backbones. I mean, just those bones. None of the other ones, I guess. But also the feet. Very strange.
Yeah, it's so precise.
Yeah, it's very precise. Which fire is not a precise kind of thing.
It's not. And if it was just like, okay, everything went but, bones or cartilage or something like that, then you can kind of narrow it down to be like, okay, obviously, the fire is not going to be hot enough to just burn through a bone, like that. Like it needs a lot of time and needs to be really, really hot, etc. But fire isn't out there picking and choosing.
Right. Well, let's dive into the next case and see if we can pick up any more commonalities here. So we have Matilda Rooney and her husband Patrick, who were found dead after, once again, another suspected case of human combustion. This was unfortunately on December 25th of 1885. So Merry Christmas. A family friend was staying with them, John Larson, who was staying the night upstairs. Larson claimed that Matilda drank a lot before, so another instance of heavy consumption of alcohol. Patrick's body was found laying on the floor of the couple's bedroom and was found to have passed away not from combustion, but rather smoke inhalation. Matilda, on the other hand, was found cremated, except again for her skull, and both of her feet remained in shoes. And the only source of fire that was in this room that the bodies were found was a half-burned candle on the Rooney's kitchen table. So the question has to be asked, what burned so hot and so big to once again burn this whole body down to the skull and leaving just the feet behind and producing enough smoke that it could kill the husband within the same room? And to kind of cap this case off, that makes it a little strange as well, is, the police suspected that the Rooneys might have been murdered by Larson. So on one hand, they're saying, okay, well, you're the only person around. Clearly, there's some sort of foul play at hand. And on the other hand, they're actually sitting there going, I don't know. Based on everything we can tell, this could be one of those rare cases of human combustion. Ultimately, Larson passed away 2 weeks later, also from smoke inhalation. So we have a situation where this woman's body went up in a very quick blaze. It must have been very quick to not affect, once again, anything else around them, and produced enough smoke that it killed not only the husband, but the guest that was upstairs 2 weeks on.
See, that tells me that, okay, I believe that there is actual fire involved, right? Because what motive does the doctor have to sit there and go, I'm just going to say it's like inhalation or, smoke, they just inhaled smoke and then all of a sudden, that messed up their lungs and their system, and that was that. There's no reason to lie there. There's not really any random motive, and that's pretty scientific stuff. Like that is something that happens. You know what I mean? Like the fire doesn't get you, the smoke can kill you.
Right. And you're not gonna suck down a bunch of smoke unless it's an accident. If you're murdering someone, right? You're not like, I guess I'll go out with them, but at least I got them. You're right. Factually, there is a fire in play, and factually, you can see that the fire took place in a certain spot in this house, and that it did not spread. So it must have been very hot and very fast, is kind of all you can assume.
Yeah, that's This is, but like, okay, so literally everything but like the feet.
Just the feet, and the shoes are intact.
Come on, man. How does that? I guess like, where does the fire start? I guess
that's a good question. See, that's the question, because if you're stood up, what's the closest to the ground? Fire tends to go up, right? Heat rises. The reaction, the chemical reaction of fire goes upwards. If it consumes the body, it doesn't inherently need to travel down. If it burns fast enough, it doesn't have to travel downward to consume everything it's touching, right? So maybe that's why the feet are left behind. Maybe the hands would be left behind too, because I'm just thinking it's a long extremity. There's not a whole lot of bone there compared to everything else that's going on, right? You just have your little leg bones.
Right.
So yeah, some bone. But I mean, all things considered, I guess I can make that work out. If you're assuming that this phenomenon is actually what's happening, like, I guess that plays.
It intrigues me.
It's very fascinating. And so then your gut says, well, fine, okay, these are old times, They're saying it's an act of God. They're saying like there's a story of this Italian knight that wasn't documented for a while. Like it wasn't, and again, I'll get to this, but it wasn't written down for quite some time. So is this just hearsay? Is this just archaic misinformation, the lack of scientific knowledge? Well, I don't know, because we're going to dive into some modern cases that come all the way up to 2010. This is something that kind of consistently
here we go.
Happens every few decades. Like there's another case. So let's jump into the death of Mary Reeser, who was a notable case of suspected spontaneous human combustion. This happened before she went to bed on July 2nd of 1941. And before going to bed, she told her son that she had taken 2 Seconal pills. Basically just pills that you would take typically before a surgery to relax, to kind of knock down your anxiety. They're barbiturates, as it were, and she intended to take 2 more of these pills after calling her son. At this point, Reeser fell asleep in her chair. The next morning, the landlady, Pansy Carpenter, smelled smoke when she came to deliver the telegram that was meant for Reeser. When Carpenter opened the door, or she tried to open the door, she realized the doorknob was too hot to touch, and so, as you can imagine, she immediately called the police for help. That's just a little factoid there for all the kids at home. You touch a handle, it's hot. Risk of fire, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Call 911.
No one's going to get this, but, if you've seen Backdraft, you know.
I don't know.
Damn it. I guess all right, hold on.
Let's get into
Backdraft. It was a
Backdraft Pizza.
It was a movie about firefighters, Chicago firefighters. Two brothers didn't get along. They had to work together.
Dang.
Because there's an arsonist that's loose. This movie was released in 1991. It had William Baldwin, Kurt Russell, Donald Sutherland. Yeah. And Scott Glenn too.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I learned.
Just 2 brothers.
Just 2 brothers don't get along. There's an arson loose. Gotta solve the case.
Dang. This is a stacked movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Okay, so back to Reeser's unfortunate demise here. So when Pansy opened the door to come inside, eventually, right, with the police, I should say, the police came in and they almost missed her cremated body in the damaged chair. They almost couldn't tell that someone had been sitting there, except when they looked down and they saw her left foot was entirely unburned and still in her slipper.
Here we go again.
Now, there is imagery of this online. And
what?
If you're going to look it up, heavy viewer discretion is advised, right? It's black and white. It doesn't look as gruesome as it potentially could. It is older footage, but it is what it is. But for those of you who don't want to look it up, it's simply not... Okay, it's not like a foot at the ankle going down. It kind of cuts off on the lower end, the lower half of the shin. And then it's, as it says, it's just a foot in a slipper. Very odd and completely untouched, surrounded by obviously a bunch of ash and the chair being melted and burned down, much like a chair would be if you lit it on fire.
Okay. So here's a non-scientist.
Okay.
Trying to science this shit up right now.
Let's do it.
Okay. So it kind of seems like a mixture of things within the body. Sounds like, either someone's taking alcohol or certain medication, whatnot, that's triggering things. If I'm to believe this, something's being consumed, it's being triggered within the gut, the stomach, And if the flame, in order to pretty much just incinerate everything except for the shins down or whatever, it'd have to burn very hot, very 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 hot,
and then immediately stop, right?
Yeah, and immediately stop, but then heat would rise. So I mean, if it was literally like a burst, maybe it's like it obviously shoots upwards, consumes everything, but that pressure, that energy, that force shoots down, reaches towards the feet, and then rises back up.
What pressure? What energy?
I mean, like, wouldn't there be like?
Are you talking about like the heat splashing off the ceiling and kind of rolling down?
More just like if I'm assuming there's some type of like explosion within your stomach, right? Like a fiery explosion that consumes the top half, but obviously just the force of the explosion pushes down towards your ankles and then just ends up rising back up.
I don't know if I'm capturing the imagery here. I might need a diagram.
Man,
but I think I'm getting what you're saying though, which is like if there's some sort of mysterious, yet to be determined, right, chemical reaction happening inside these bodies, and maybe it is biological in a sense, something to do with their DNA or their genetic makeup of some sort, right? Maybe they have a high level of, I don't know, I'm just gonna make something up, stomach acid. I don't know what other fluids are kicking around in there. Or maybe they have a high level of bile or just some sort of like an acidic bile or something that then combines with something that they eat. Maybe it's alcohol in some form, because a lot of these
that's insane
are heavy drinkers, such that we've seen so far, or this person has taken some barbiturates. And maybe it's just a very, very rare combination that then sparks like thermite and it burns hot and fast, and there goes the body, the fuel's consumed, and the fire then stops. I don't know.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, like thermite.
Except thermite does continue to burn and burn and burn, but whatever the biological version of that would be. And maybe that's like we are ancestors. Our dragons were our ancestors, right? And like fire breathing was a thing, and we got bad at it.
We lost it over time.
And then when we tried it again, we just kind of like really messed it up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
There are definitely like some bugs. I think there's a bug that spits out like two chemicals, and when they combine, it basically like melts its prey and it smokes and stuff. So it's not entirely unheard of for biology to have reactions of this nature.
Yeah, nature gets getting real wild with it. Yeah. I see that.
Whew. Well, what's interesting here? So we have another familiar symptom, however, a little different, very strange that I didn't know about this one. Among the ashes and the gore, I should say, they also found pieces again of her vertebrae and her skull. However, this time it is said, and I'm going to quote here, that the skull was shrank, quote, to the size of a teacup, end quote. That I'm not sure if I can believe. And that is why I actually stumbled into the photographs, because I was looking for photos of this. Perhaps they exist, but to the size of a teacup, I know there's like shrunken heads, but I don't know the whole process around that. And I don't know if, I'm just trying to think of the skull itself actually shrinking. And I don't know if that's possible.
Does that happen? I mean, we know nothing.
Yeah, I mean, we're just like lunatics online.
But like, yeah, to get a skull to shrink, I mean, it's a thing, isn't it? Like,
so there is a process to create a shrunken head. I don't want to go into that process because I am completely just looking this up. I don't know the process.
Yeah.
But it is, I just wanted to confirm this part. It does involve removing the skull from the neck, and then the rest is kind of dried down. So again, it's interesting, right, that they're saying that the skull was in fact shrunken down. I don't know if I have any evidence of that I can find immediately, but it just seems like this might be the one piece of evidence that we're kind of fancying up the situation, and all it's doing is clouding the possible evidence here, right?
Yeah, I think the thing too is, I mean, again, we know nothing, but I would think that if you were trying to shrink a skull, it'd have to do with, I don't know, kind of depleting the moisture in a certain way after a certain, during a certain time frame or something like that. Not burning it so it shrinks.
Right. That's. I mean, even if a skull could shrink, I'm with you. I don't know if necessarily just like being burned would do that, especially since other victims of this phenomenon
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
When
right?
Because when bodies are cremated, you know, it doesn't always fully cremate the entire body. Sometimes there's pieces of bone and stuff like that. I've never heard of those bones possibly being just baby bones, like tiny versions.
I was gonna say babyfied.
Just, you know what I mean? Like babyfied
you know.
bones of your body.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting too is that now we start to, as we enter the modern era, we get a little bit more around the case, a little bit more documented observations. So around the area, some of the objects nearby Mary Reeser actually did start to melt a little bit, but they did not show signs of burning. There were no burn marks elsewhere in the apartment. So all we can now add to the list here is that the fire burns very hot. And it, again, must burn very quickly, but hot enough to radiate out. And you have to imagine, the door handle was hot. She wasn't sitting by the door handle. So what it must have done is really dramatically increased the heat, the radiation coming off of this fire, enough to make the door handle hot, enough to melt some of the nearby items. But again, not enough to burn anything else. Very strange.
Fire's not selective.
It's not selective at all, no.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it burns so hot to like just incinerate a body and then generate enough smoke where someone can die from just smoke poisoning, and then the handle was hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are we not essentially burning the place down at this point?
Exactly. And what's even crazier is you say, you know, fire is agnostic, and mostly that's true, right? There are things that fire won't necessarily burn, like a cup of water. But here's the thing. Nearby to this incident, and this is just exacerbating the point, there was a stack of newspapers, okay? They didn't catch fire.
Oh,
this is
come on.
newspaper. This is some dry paper.
Oh, come on.
In fact, this whole situation went down without any of the neighbors nearby having any idea of it. No one had any idea that there was a fire. No one had any idea that this had happened to the unfortunate Mary Reeser. It just did. So again, just more points in the extremely hot, extremely fast column. Whatever that means. I'm not saying it has to be spontaneous combustion, but whatever's going on, it's fast, it's happening when they're alone, and it's over. It's hot. But anyway, investigators found that it was not an electrical fire, so that kind of marks that one off, and they were baffled at how the fire would behave this way, much like you and I are. The remains of Mary Reeser were sent to the FBI, and they found ultimately nothing combustible from what did remain, but they did find melted fat in the rug, which is a bit grotesque, but it does go to say that, okay, maybe they weren't entirely burned apart. You know, maybe this fire went so hot and fast and that it was not enough to burn the whole body to smoke, you know what I mean? But rather that it was so hot that some of the more soft tissues of the body basically just melt away. And that's why this is able to go boom so fast, just gone. But it's honestly kind of spooky when you start to think about it. And you think of it as like, you know, we all fear the unknown. What's around this dark corner? You never know. But to have the idea that at any given moment, you could just burn apart in a few minutes or seconds or I don't know, and no one know why, like that, it's very spooky, very unsettling.
It is, but you'd have to think that this would, I don't know, there's just so many people out there in the world that you'd have to think that this would happen more often, and then at this point that we would be like, okay, don't mix these together.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just such a rare combo of stuff.
It's so rare. I mean, there are a lot of super rare medical cases. This could be something that fits along that line, but
yeah,
I don't know if people are just sitting there just like, all right, I drank some alcohol and I have this genetic mixture or whatever. You'd think that it would happen more than like, I don't know, once every 100 years or so. Like,
yeah. You know, maybe it does too, and it's just either not documented or whatever, because the worst part about this is, again, however you feel about the subject, let's presume for the moment that it's actually what's happening. Because if you take it at that value, all the evidence is burned, man. Like, how are you supposed to figure out what exact chemical combinations that uniquely combined to happen in this moment to unfortunately burn this person in but a moment? It's all gone. There's no way to really dissect it. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe there are some cases where the house does burn down and it looks like a normal fire or something. It's just It's really fascinating. And to be in the modern times and to actually have the door open to something like this is really, it's just like, that's what keeps me so intrigued on this.
As soon as you said like, oh, this happened in a recent case or somewhat recent case in 2010, I went, okay, here we go. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause at that point I'm banking on modern technology to kind of really help push the narrative one way or another.
Right. You would expect, a high quality iPhone video of like something going down, or like, maybe when one happens the next couple decades, we'll have someone's home video capture it and we're all going to be freaked the F out. But
see someone just poof.
But let's dive into, now we're getting into the even spookier times, because now we're in the 80s. And then we'll follow up with the one from 2010 here after this. But in 1982, the family of 61-year-old Jeannie Saffin witnessed, okay, finally, there was a witness this year.
Well, here we go.
Witnessed her burst into flames as they sat in their kitchen.
Wait, what? Witness who burst into flames?
So the family of this 61-year-old basically witnessed Jeannie Saffin.
Got it.
The matriarch of the family basically burst into flames as they're all sitting in the kitchen.
What?
And her brother-in-law, Don Carroll, claims that the fire started in her stomach, saying this, quote, "The kitchen wasn't damaged, but her cardigan melted. The inquest never sorted it out, but I know what I saw," end quote. So Don and Jeannie's father, Jack Saffin, were able to put the fire out. However, Jeannie unfortunately passed away in the hospital 8 days after. So now we have the very first, at least that we're covering here, documented case of someone who underwent this phenomenon and then survived, at least for the time being. I don't think we have any quotes from them. I don't know if they were comatose from injuries, but we don't really have any firsthand account from Jeannie themselves as to what happened or what they experienced. But Jeannie's family also claims that her clothes did not end up on fire, that the only source of the fire would have to have been the pilot light in the stove, because otherwise there was no other source of flame in the room. Some theorize that perhaps the father's pipe was the source of the flame, but at that time it had already been put out. So investigators were starting to say, okay, well, maybe there was a stray ember from the pipe that could have lit her nylon shirt on fire. And so, there are a couple of little caveats here that could open the door to the possibility of just a freak accident, something that we couldn't have expected, right? And maybe that's why it looked like it's emanated from her stomach, because an ember landed in the folds while she was sitting in around the stomach area. But this is one of the very few eyewitness cases in modern history. Carol also claimed, by the way, this is the person that I quoted before, but claimed that the fire was actually also coming out of Jeannie's mouth, and that she, quote, roared like a dragon, end quote. The yeah. I guess I joke about dragons, but what? I mean... So anyway, the investigators on this note did not find any evidence of burning in her mouth. So you can trust this, or you can say this is a bit sensationalized, but I do have an anecdote. It's not a personal one, but it kind of goes to support this in a way. Now, I've heard stories of people who cook whole turkeys or whole chickens, and I'm talking like whole, and they stick them in the oven, and hot air escapes out the neck as steam is created and the bird is cooking. And if it affects the vocal cords, it can create a bit of a scream sound, and people have reported that they've had chickens or turkeys or whatever in the oven screaming, and it's unsettling to say the least. But no, it's definitely a dead animal, and it is not screaming. But if this person, if Jeannie had some fire blazing in her stomach from some freak combination of chemicals, and that fire burst out her esophagus because heat was just looking to expand, like you were saying, maybe there was some sort of explosive pressure, maybe it could have been quick enough to not burn the mouth, but would have been enough to basically blow past the vocal cords and actually create a sound. I mean, so it is entirely possible.
Like a kettle, right? Like
right. In a weird way, yes, like a kettle.
Yeah, I guess.
So I can see it.
It's the air pot. I can see it.
That would be terrifying, though. Grandma starts spitting fire and roaring.
Why wouldn't we have more cases, though?
I mean, we're not covering all of them. We're covering a handful of some of the key ones. But remember, the very first documented case was not necessarily roaring like a dragon and flames coming out, but but vomiting flames is what they said. So there is a bit of an overlap here. That like there is a consistency between all of these stories that is kind of unique in this realm. I mean, when you talk about a lot of people undergoing various paranormal activity or whatever, there tends to be some overlap or whatever, but this is probably the most consistent case by case, decade by century by century situation that I've seen. And again, I don't know if it's people building off of stories that they've heard, kind of like aliens and abductions, or if there is something else going on here. It's just the consistency is actually pretty startling when you really think about it.
Then again, it just takes like, people that want to get involved with it as well.
That's true. I don't want to get involved with it. I'll just let you know that.
Look,
if I burned to pieces, it was not me.
Yeah, aliens and stuff. Like, sure. You want to believe. No one wants to be set on fire.
Right. Well, no one wants to be sucked up into a spaceship and tossed out back onto a Wendy's.
Well,
like
some people do.
Some people do. I don't know, man. But let's talk about the 2010 case. Let's kind of wrap up the cases here, and let's see again if we can find any other similarities. Just kind of continuing that trend. So, this one happened to Michael Faraday, who was 76 and considered a possible case once again of spontaneous human combustion. This happened in Ireland on December 22nd, 2010. So we have another kind of Christmas or holiday situation here. Don't think that has anything to do with it, but maybe. You got to think about fireplaces being involved. You got to think about, heat elements being in play in these colder environments during the winter seasons. But Faraday's neighbor, Mr. Mannion, woke up to the sound of his smoke alarm going off. He got no answer when he knocked on Faraday's door, so he got another neighbor to start helping. Like, hey, let's get in here. Something's going on. There's a fire alarm. I can't get in.
Yeah.
When they got in, Faraday was found lying on the floor on his back with his head closest to the fireplace, but his body was totally burnt, but not all the way down to ashes. The floor below him and the ceiling above him were the only other things in the room affected by the fire. So I imagine that at some point when he was on fire, he was laying on the ground, and that the heat was dramatic enough and the smoke dramatic enough to rise up and create a mark on the ceiling. So this is, one of those other instances where there really isn't a whole lot of fire spreading here. Now, the police did not suspect foul play, but they also did not believe Faraday's death to be caused by the fireplace, which is interesting because you would think so, given where they were laying, given the fact that perhaps they were lighting a fire, and maybe when striking the match, a piece of the red stuff on the tip of the match could flick off, hit the sweater or something. Who knows? But they're saying we don't think whatever it was that caused this was the fireplace.
Damn, that's that like frustrating middle ground.
Right.
Where, like the previous story with the family, it could have been, sure, it could have been X, Y, or Z, right? It could have been like this, was it the pipe or whatever, or something like that. The ashes could have gone on to the cardigan sweater or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Here is one of those situations where it's like, well, I mean, you'll probably say maybe it was caused by the chimney or whatever. It's like, no, that definitely wasn't it. That's like, I guess, confirmed to not be it.
I mean, again, these are the people that were there on site. These are professionals. So you want to say, sure, I believe you, but unless I guess I have my eyes on it, I'm like, is there a starter log? A naked, untouched starter log in that fireplace? Is there some untouched firewood? And yes, sure, some people keep untouched firewood in their fireplace because then it looks nice. But to me, that kind of tells more of the story. Was this person, in fact, in the midst of interacting with their fireplace in some way, and then this went down? Or was the place that they collapsed just ironic in that way? But pathologist Grace Callergy noticed that while Faraday had diabetes and hypertension, they noted that this individual did not experience a heart attack. So, we have some conditions here of the body, right? They have a couple ailments, but it wasn't because of those ailments that they passed away, that it was in fact from the fire. And then we have 25-year-old coroner, Dr. Kieran McLaughlin, claimed, quote, "This fire was thoroughly investigated, and I'm left with the conclusion that this fits into the category of spontaneous human combustion, for which there is no adequate explanation," end quote. And so there we have it. We have one of our most recent, if not the most recent, instance of this, and we have young professionals out here claiming that this is what it is. It's SHC, right? This person fell victim to a phenomenon that we don't fully understand still. And that was that.
I mean, there's a lot of was it like medical mysteries? So it's not super far-fetched to like think that it's a super rare thing. There's just so many key things that just like intrigue me and baffle me and confuse me, like the newspaper in one of the situations, and how, I don't know, the fire doesn't just consumes so much, or it's like it just burns so hot, or the door handle's hot, but then like nothing else is, there's a lot of stuff that's untouched.
Yeah, it's very strange.
It seems so precise.
Very precise.
And
Very
fire,
precise.
Fire, I don't know how precise fire is. I mean, it just spreads.
Not very.
Give it oxygen. I don't know, just breathe itself and go.
Yeah, you know what's interesting to me, and again, we always do the theories at the end, but I can't help but think, you're talking about how few cases there are. And let's be clear, there's about 200 cases or so that have undergone or have some sort of spontaneous human combustion involved. And what's fascinating is that they're all deeply related to each other. They have a lot of similar experiences or similar pieces of evidence. But what's really interesting and what's totally possible is that this is not necessarily spontaneous human combustion, but rather fire acting in a freak way. That if an accident happened, and this is where I don't know if this has happened before, but where scientists, if they could basically just gather up a bunch of pig bodies, humanely gathered, put typical human fabrics on them, I would say probably put various alcoholic beverages in them, and then give each of them like various ways to accidentally spark a fire and see how each of them react in an environment. This is a very expensive and very intensive experiment, but see how many of these fires fully spread to engulf the whole place, the whole room, or whatever else. Or if you get maybe even like 0.5% of those that just burn hot, fast, and in one solitary location, you might start to go, okay, I guess we're all used to houses burning down because that is how it always tends to go. But there is a small sliver of a window that just allows the opportunity for some crazy things to happen, which is a body burning very hot and fast due to various, reasons, whatever those might be, but not necessarily self-created, like a fire just spontaneously creates, but rather that something initiates it, but it stays localized. And, that's, to me, maybe what's really going on here.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to sell me on any piece of it, that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I don't know. I'm like, so precise.
It's very precise.
So powerful and precise.
Yeah, and it always seems to originate from inside. All these stories don't really indicate that there's an external source, or at least not as the way they're documented.
Which I'm kind of happy about, because if it's like, oh, it could happen on the outside of your skin, then at that point it gets really confusing.
Yeah.
I can believe like the inside of someone's like stomach, their intestines, certain chemicals mixing in together. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's kind of where my mind goes too.
The thing I really like about the last story was the fact that there were professionals involved, and you know me, like, I love the fact it's like, okay, get the pros involved, get them in there, let's hear their opinion, let them try and break it down, give them access to the scene, the crime scene, or the area,
right?
And
document it, photos,
get some great minds on it,
right? Exactly. Unlike, the first case. Now, I kind of indicated this earlier, but Polonus Vorstius, that first documented case that happened back in 1470, is a complete opposite of what you would expect from the modern times, which this wasn't recorded until 1641, almost 200 years later. So, and it was documented almost like a tale passed down verbally within the family. And then eventually it made its way into a collection of stories, a book that is just a collection of unique causes of death. I won't attempt the name of the book. It's like, okay, I will, but it's Latin, so bear with me. Historiarum Anatomicarum Variorum.
Does not sound easy, I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Look, you attempted it. I would have. I would not have.
It's out
I wouldn't
there
have
now.
attempted because I'm not bold enough.
Yeah. So like, you know, then it starts to make me think, okay, cool. I really like that some of these recent cases have modern science behind them, documenting things, theorizing, whatnot. But then I have to crack open the case a little bit further and start to go, can we apply what we've discussed in the past, you and I, about abductions and about aliens? Can we apply that here? Basically, a story is established, whether it's falsified, fantastical, or accidental, or real, I don't know. A story is documented. And many years after that, that story then starts to kind of creep into the zeitgeist a little bit and starts to pick up some steam. You know, maybe it takes a while for someone to come up with the monster of the week, right? It takes a really creative writer to come up with like Frankenstein, but then once he's out there, he's all over the place. You know, so maybe it's just kind of one of those things.
But the thing
turned the people's minds onto a certain subject.
I can see what you're trying to like go with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it applies here simply because like a lot of the abduction stuff, it's more so you kind of have to just go off of what the person is saying.
That's true. That's very
right?
true. That's a good
Here
point.
there's actual like tangible evidence.
Right.
There's burnt bodies.
Right. And regardless, again, of it being this phenomenon or whatnot, it's definitely something that's happened. Something's happening, and it's wild and very hard to explain, if at all explainable.
Right, like definitely something is happening because there's the burnt bodies.
Mm-hmm.
How? I don't know.
Hey everybody, Trevor here once again with a couple of housekeeping notes. Just wanted to say right here, just before you skip, store.roosterteeth.com. We've got that Task Force merch out and ready and available, hot and fresh. Thank you all so much for those of you who have been buying that Task Force merch. The button, pin, badge kind of combo already sold out day one. So thank you so much. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's in stock right now because I am recording this in advance. But again, thank you so much for supporting the show. That really does mean a lot to us. But with that said, I do want to talk about a couple sponsors that also help the show. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by Candid. Thousands of people have used Candid, the clear, comfortable, removable, and practically invisible aligners to help straighten their teeth, and now they love their smile. Just like Cameron from Nashville, Tennessee, who said that their life completely changed because of Candid. And Candid is here to help straighten your teeth so you can fall in love with your smile as well. Your treatment is prescribed and closely monitored remotely by a licensed orthodontist who's an expert in tooth movement. You'll have the same quality of care that you'd get from an in-office orthodontist, plus the convenience of doing it from home. I was able to go to their website and see if I qualified using their very easy little survey that they have right there on the home page. It lets them know what kind of issue you have, when you want to start, and how you found out about them. And right away, you can figure out if you are qualified. So I really appreciate that their survey, super easy to use, and boom, you get that information right away. Become your best you. Start straightening your teeth today. Right now, you can actually save $75 on Candid Starter Kit. Go to candidco.com/redweb and use code REDWEB. That's candidco.com/redweb with code REDWEB to take advantage of this limited time offer and save $75 on your starter kit. candidco.com/redweb and code REDWEB. We'll tell them that we sent you. This episode of Red Web is also sponsored by Raycon. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm always looking at the screen, now more than ever. And we all know that unplugging yourself is easier said than done. One of my favorite ways to rest my eyes and get the content I'm itching for, well, it's by putting on Raycon wireless earbuds and listening to something great. Raycons are built to perform anywhere and anytime with water and sweat-resistant construction and Bluetooth that pairs quickly and seamlessly. Couple that with enough battery life for 6 hours of playtime, you can unplug for quite a while. I use Raycons when I'm going on a walk to get away from my work, just get some sun on me, and get outside the house for a little bit during these quarantine times. And they're super sleek looking. They're not large. They don't protrude. They look quite nice, and they tuck into your ears, and they don't fall out when you're walking around. So you can either run or walk or whatever you want to do with them. It's really nice to be able to plug those in and go outside, get on a walk, and just listen to some good music with good quality. Raycon's offering 15% off all their products for listeners, and here's what you got to do. to get it, okay? Go to buyraycon.com/redweb, and that's it. You'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order, so feel free to grab a pair and a spare. That's 15% off at buyraycon.com/redweb. buyraycon.com/redweb. But with that said, let's dive right back into the mystery. Well, what's interesting is that spontaneous combustion has also been documented in nature as well. So not just humans, but it's commonly studied in hay. And so they're going, okay, well, let's take a look at this and see what we can learn from this, and maybe that will apply to humans. So it's theorized that when it comes to hay, that the moisture contained at the center of the hay bales ferment to the point where it then combusts. Now, I know what we all know. We probably all know what fermenting means. It tends to be applied to the fermentation process of creating alcohol. But just for the sake of conversation, I'm going to outline it here. It's the chemical breakdown of a substance by bacteria, yeast, or other microorganisms, typically involving effervescence and giving off heat. And so that's the thing I wanted to note, is that, you know, alcoholic beverages were common in a lot of the stories. And if you imbibed a truly large volume of, I don't know, maybe it was still fermenting, whether it was wine or some other alcohols, and the fermentation process suddenly kicked it up to 11 inside your system.
Yeah.
That spontaneous release of heat from that process, from whatever biology you got going on inside, maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But it's just interesting that the theory that we are kind of tapping into for this case is also something that's being theorized for other instances.
Mm-hmm. Right. If I was to kind of like bet on anything, it would be somewhere along the lines of like that kind of like theory, right? Like that train of thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying it since the beginning of this episode. It's like something is mixing with something else, and it's sparking this.
Right. Because it's always, every case has always been nigh impossible to figure out the source of the fire. And anytime they look at it, and they look at like the fireplace, for example, they go, nope, that's not it. So it's interesting. So it must be a source that has been destroyed, and the only source being destroyed is the self in these cases. But a couple other characteristics are found throughout multiple of these stories, beyond even the ones that we covered. But these cases tend to be elderly women. They often tend to be heavy drinkers or smokers. And smokers, you got to think about, you know, lighting up, matches, lighters,
Ashes
all
or
of that sort of
whatnot.
thing. Accidentally, you know, houses burn down from cigarettes all the time. There's also the commonality of diabetes and often living alone. Now, I'm not saying living alone is causing this, but I think the lack of witnesses is kind of exacerbating the unknown here. But it is a common trait. And it's so freaky how consistent these descriptors are.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, a part of me goes, oh, they're just reading it from other, but then why would you read that? Right? Because okay. So what I'm trying to get at here is that there's no sense of like foul play, right? That there's no like, oh, someone is essentially trying to create this anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, it's not like aliens in the sense of like, oh, I heard this story, I want to mimic it, right? Like, I don't believe that there's old ladies out there going, I heard this myth, I want to mimic this, and then
right. But maybe
do that
investigators
to
hear it
themselves.
and they go, maybe it's that stuff. Maybe it's that thing that happened. I heard about that. I mean,
I can see that happening just because they just want to put some type of button on it.
right. Put an answer on something.
Yep.
Well, I want to talk about one case that is extraordinarily rare to have somebody who's lived through this and lived to tell the tale. But there is a person who claims to have survived spontaneous human combustion, and that's Frank Baker, who was going out on a fishing trip when he suddenly caught on fire. He claims that there was no source of fire, like a candle or a cigarette, just nothing in the nearby area. And after his friend helped stop the flames, he went to the hospital and claims that the doctor said that the fire came from inside out. So now we have a situation where someone might be claiming the story, but that's all we really have there. You would think that if they went to the hospital, that there would be some sort of documentation. I would be deeply fascinated to hear from this doctor to say, like, did you not, like, really look in there? Did you have, like, some sort of endoscopic camera that you could take pictures of, like, the stomach lining being burnt or something, you know, something, right? But it's interesting.
I mean,
you know?
that was my thought exactly, right?
Mhm.
If this person said that this happened, then where's the evidence? Because then
this person's writing a paper, all right? They're getting huge grant money for this. They're not ghosting their only living, spontaneous human combustion case. Like, there would be news here.
Right. And I feel like it's something that, I mean, because firefighters, like you can track a fire.
True.
You can see like the origin, like the point of where it sparks and burns. It's because the way things are burnt and the markings and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Chemicals and whatnot. I would assume to some degree, if this person was set on fire and still alive, there'd be some part of the body that was burnt more so than others.
Right.
And then boom, there's your evidence, there's your documentation. Now, whether or not this person did it to themselves, who knows? Like, that's a whole different thing. But you can at least verify that much.
Right. And let me ask the question. How did you put it out if it started inside? And if it started as a chemical, there are chemical reactions that are exothermic that essentially release heat a la fire, but don't need oxygen to burn, much like thermite, in which case, good luck putting it out. So if it can burn inside of you, and then the doctor is saying it's coming from inside of you, how did you and your friend put it out? And how did you basically sustain no damage, right? No lasting damage. This is a story that I think is a bit of a farce, but I wanted to mention it because it is intriguing, and it is one of the few cases of somebody saying, hey, I had this, and I lived.
Yeah, I think that it's very interesting to note and to bring up, simply because in my mind, I was thinking, there's at least one. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's at least one. Yeah, for me, I guess I just can't ride with it simply because, come on, like, there's got to be so much evidence and documentation, and there's no way that, just kind of believed it and then patched them up and sent them on their way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would think there'd be a lot of like evidence.
Yeah. And to me, when it comes to evidence and investigating these cases, I think the biggest thing to me is that when you look at these investigations now, they tend to be led by paranormal investigators rather than forensic scientists or other science fields, because scientists as a whole tend to deny the possibility of a fire starting without any sort of external source. And I guess, science doesn't know what it doesn't know yet, but we know quite a bit now, especially about fire, chemical reactions. And so I think there is something kind of baked in when you start to hear that it's mostly paranormal pseudoscience investigators that it kind of starts to tip your thoughts one way over the other. But
true.
But having said that, what's interesting is that there was a forensic analyst, John F. Fisher, and a paranormal skeptic, Joe Nickel, that both led a 2-year-long study on SHC back in 1984. Now, this is where some interesting kind of points come out. So they used common qualities from many reported cases to try to explain what was going on with this phenomenon, but they focused on the death of Monsieur Charbonnier in 1847. This particular case was the death of a person who was found laying in bed, almost completely burned, with a small white flame that was still burning. So now we have witnesses of saying, okay, well, there's still a flame happening here, and it's very small and very white, so maybe there's a unique case here. Well, they found that most of the victims, when they were doing this study, were actually near some kind of flame, counter to what was said earlier. But that newspapers left that detail out, so that way the story felt a little bit more ominous. So, on one hand, we have people saying, there's no flames in there. The story is there's no flames. But they're finding, when they looked a little deeper, that there were, in fact, possible sources of flame in most of these cases. And that to make it a little bit more sensational, right, you need to sell papers. Let's just leave that out, make people go, wow. They also said that because of intoxication, and that was a common trait here, the drinking, was that victims were more likely to stumble into flames, and they could not properly respond by whether it's stop, drop, roll, right, the basics, taking off the clothes, finding a way to put out the flame, getting help or whatever. And so basically, if they were severely intoxicated, it would be something where they couldn't properly react, and that it would just kind of engulf them.
But to me, that just seems like a common fire. And in that case, why wouldn't the whole building go up?
That's true. And that's kind of where I guess my idea comes in, which is like maybe they're just uniquely localized and it's a very rare case. Every other case that it wasn't localized and that the whole house did go down, we just call a fire. And so all these strange cases where they are localized, I guess we just haven't really seen that happen, and so we have to call it something else, or I don't know.
I see what you're getting at. No, and trust. I mean, like, I definitely see what you're getting at. I think the thing there is then, but then it's hot enough to burn the body, right? Because then, God, it just behaves unlike fire.
Yeah. Well, one thing that they mentioned just on that note is, because this will play into the theories a little bit, they were noting that in a lot of these cases, the body was totally cremated, but they started to hypothesize that the melted fat from the bodies would obviously liquefy and then soak into the clothes, the blankets, the chairs, whatever was nearby, and that would be what was fueling the fire. So much like you could soak a little paper ball in rubbing alcohol, and then you could light that on fire. You could hold that in your hands, and then you could blow it out, and the paper would be essentially untouched because the fire was essentially consuming the rubbing alcohol. And obviously, then you blew it out. Eventually, the paper could be on fire, or the rubbing alcohol could burn off, and then the paper is totally fine. But that's kind of what they're starting to lay the groundwork of. They're thinking, okay, maybe the melted fat from the body localized the fire and kept it feeding on that rather than the environment.
Ooh, okay. Now we're starting to get into something.
Which, again, I would want to say that the fire would leap to something else still, instinctually. But this does kind of make sense to my normal person brain.
But this is what I'm thinking, though. Like, and I have done no research on this whatsoever, but like when you see stuntmen who set themselves on fire, it usually doesn't catch a whole bunch of other things on fire, right? Because it's consuming whatever the chemical is that's lathered onto the body.
Right.
And the clothing, etc. It's not just like setting things. Because like you'll see a lot of scenes where like stuntmen will be set on fire and they're touching a whole bunch of things, but they're not setting other things on fire. Oh man. Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then one last note when it comes to this, and this is once again going to lay some of the groundwork for the theories. In 2002, Angie M. Christensen at the University of Tennessee compared healthy and osteoporotic bones in cremation. Essentially, healthy bones and bones of those who were a bit elderly or had osteoporosis, corrosion of, whatever. I'm not a doctor. So when they tested these two types of bones in cremation, they found that the osteoporotic bones displayed more discoloration and a greater degree of fragmentation than the healthy ones did, which is something to note because a lot of these victims that we discussed earlier were in fact elderly, right? So there is a chance that their bones were a bit more brittle, and so they would be more likely to burn and disintegrate in a fire. And then another part of their experiment, which is the second part, they found that when they burned human tissue, that it actually burned quite small. And that they said this is what explains why the fire didn't spread beyond the body, is that, sure, they burned, unfortunately, but because of that, it doesn't, we're all picturing big fires because when things get consumed and engulfed in flame, you just think, raging fire, very tall. But they're saying, hey, when we burned human tissue, it actually didn't burn all that big. And so I don't know what this situation would look like, but that's probably why it stayed localized to them. And so combining these two things, we start to get a little bit of the science coming involved and saying, okay, so maybe there's some accidents and maybe there's part of our anatomy that can explain why the fire stays localized, whether it's that kind of candle sort of effect with the fat or if it's the size of the flame. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's different types of flames, and I didn't even think about it. Like, depending on the material that is burning, it could localize the fire.
Mm-hmm. Possibly.
Yeah, it's more believable now. I just didn't even think about that angle. It's just so crazy to me that it'd be a localized fire that essentially just incinerates a human being to just ash.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if they have brittle bones and man, like it's just like
before it can spread, it consumes its fuel, I guess.
Yeah.
Dang.
I'm buying into this.
This is actually helping me feel a little bit better about this because, like, it's kind of creepy. But then when you start to really apply some science to it, you're like, oh, okay, no. These theories start to make me feel a little bit more comfortable in the predictable, in the known, right?
Man, okay. It's still so baffling to me that they would consume, burn so. It's just like you gotta have the right mixture of components within a human being.
Right. Well, with that said, that's kind of like the stories, the background of spontaneous human combustion. We've theorized a little bit ourselves, but let's dive more officially into the theories section, talking about a couple of different ways that people have theorized that this has come to be. The first one being chemical effects, because there are many theories that certain chemicals that are present in the body can cause it to spontaneously combust. And that's something that you and I were kind of, mulling over a little bit at the beginning.
Right.
Whether it was something that consumed, that kind of instigated it, or some other phenomenon. But in the case of Matilda Rooney's death, investigators believe that her body spontaneously combusted as a result of high amount of alcohol creating a high amount of heat and gases that eventually then turned into flames. And, once again, this kind of goes back to somebody's vomiting up flames, someone's spitting flames from their mouth. And then somebody else said that the flames started at their stomach. There's a lot to kind of go into this that says, yes, something is happening in the stomach region and internally. And because of that, because so many of these cases originate from the stomach, there was a chemist named Dr. John Emsley that proposed that an overproduction of diphosphane could cause hydrogen and methane gases to combust. So here we have it. Now we have someone who actually knows what's going on in the body, saying, okay, a certain chemical could be in play, that if these other two chemicals also happen to be in play at the same time, and a rare instance occurs, boom, combustion is possible.
Yeah, I totally believe that.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. It's just the weird thing. I feel like how it could possibly just ignite makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, very late into this episode, how it could only consume just a human being and not anything else really. Kind of starting to see that picture. Oh, man.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah?
But another theory, and this one's a little interesting, comes from Brian J. Ford. It's centered around the idea of ketosis. You might recognize that term, but ketosis is essentially a bodily response to low-carb diets or sometimes alcoholism. So basically the keto diet causes ketosis. I'll keep it as simple as that. Ketosis creates extra acetone in the body. This is the main chemical found in nail polish, and it's highly flammable. The night Mary Reeser passed away, she actually skipped dinner, so she could have been in a state of ketosis. Now, with all of that said, you and I very well know a person in our lives that is very much into the keto diet. And I know the keto diet is very trendy right now, and a lot of people are having great success with it. You would imagine that in a world where keto is at the forefront, right, more prominent now than probably ever, that cases, if this was the originating factor, that cases would rise. Exactly. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if our old pals out there, kill the diet. I don't want you burning.
Stop what you're doing.
But that's interesting, though. That really is interesting. And I this is where I really dig it, right? I like the eerie, but I just as equally love science trying to get in there and figure it out. Like, oh, maybe it was the oxidation of phosphine, diphosphine, and methane, which is a chemical reaction known as will-o'-the-wisps. And that's another theory that people have, that this is the same chemical reaction that's happening in the body that's creating these flames.
Look, I mean, that's what I want for a lot of these episodes. It's like, scientists, get in there. You know what I mean? Break this down.
Right. Theorize this to pieces.
We got a handful of that. This isn't as... When we first went into this, I was like, oh, damn, is that a real thing? And just hear about that in the movies to like, oh, come on, how is it? And now I'm kind of towards the tail end going, I can see.
You can see it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
What a roller coaster.
Now, some of these paranormal authors are not helping the case. I'll be real. So we have Lewis Proud, for example, who is an author, theorized that spontaneous human combustion could originate from the malfunction of electricity in the body. And that's where I say, okay, calm down. I don't know. Listen, there's definitely things happening in the brain that could be likened to electricity, some firing of neurons and whatnot. But we're not robots. Let's not apply like the most basic understanding of electricity to the body and be like, oh, I had a short circuit in my brain, I'm a fire. That's just, I don't know. Maybe I'll be like, like one of those people that the future looks back on and goes, wow, the past was dumb. They had no idea.
Yeah.
There's absolutely electricity in the body and everyone's flying around like Electro, shooting electricity from their hands, charging their phones while they're texting. That'd be cool. You know, Shazam!
I mean, there's gotta be something like hundreds, thousands of years from now. It's like, man, they just really got it wrong. They just really got it wrong. And if they just adjusted this to that, Boom. Open up a space travel, whole new world. Some crazy,
Man.
something wild.
But to close off this idea that it's chemical reaction, a lot of people are opponents to this idea because the body is 70% water on average, and that would create an environment that is very unlikely to start a fire. And that's where I then say, yes, but that's why we're talking about chemicals. Like, once again, we go back to thermite, right? Where you don't need oxygen, and if those kind of chemical reactions can happen within water. So, I don't know. It's interesting. I think it gets very close to attempting to explain something that we clearly know very little about. And that way, it does kind of make it a little less eerie.
Yeah. It didn't step too far into the eerie for me. I do like, though, how I was very much afraid that, not that it was going to step into the eerie, but that it was going to step into the, like, oh, this person said they saw it, or that person said they saw this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't really get broken down, especially, like, scientifically, which was pretty cool. But, oh, man, I could start to really see this.
Yeah. My gut kind of, like, when first thinking about this, and I guess what makes it so creepy to me is, as a kid, I'm like, what? I don't want to turn into fire suddenly. But I know better now. I know that I'm not an old lady with with a drinking habit. Chemical effects, really, like, that's what my gut was kind of going for. But the more we talked about this, and the more we started hearing about, John F. Fisher, Joe Nickel, Angie M. Christensen, these other experts in the field, the more I started, we started talking about this other idea, which is the next theory. And it's, in fact, the leading theory of this phenomenon, and that's known as the Wick effect. That these fires and deaths are the result of this effect, wherein the body is consumed by fire and the victim's clothes and surroundings, right, if you're on the couch, act as the wick of the candle.
Interesting.
Yes, that the fire is actually caused by an unknown source, something like a candle or a cigarette or ash or something of that nature, something mundane and explainable, but that your body then, whether it's the melting of your fat or that your clothes or whatever, basically that you are an inside-out candle. And a candle works in the sense that there's a wick that if you burn the wick by itself, it would basically burn down relatively quickly like a shoestring and then just be gone. What makes it last so long is that it's pulling up liquefied melted wax through the wick, burning the wax, and that's the major part of the flame is wax burning. And then the wick slowly burns therein.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, that's what they're kind of hypothesizing here.
That's an interesting theory.
Right. The only challenge here is that, again, all the evidence is consumed by the fire, so it makes it very hard for investigators to pinpoint this as what's actually going on, unless you start going out and burning, humanely sourced pig bodies, or cadavers that volunteer for science or whatever. There's no real way unless you start putting tissues through this, and that's if you really wanted to figure this out.
I mean, I'd say throw a couple of cadavers at it.
You volunteering?
Easy.
When you're old and gray and you passed on,
yeah,
from
sure.
choking on
Why
a
not?
Cheerio
Yeah.
at the tender age of 112.
I mean, oh God, I hope I'm not 112. That just sounds painful.
111. And
Right,
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I think this one sounds very interesting. So basically what's happening is the body's melting fat acts as the fire's continuous source to keep the flame going, and the clothes keep the flame contained to the body, as the flame basically sits on your clothes, like the wick holds the flame. Your body is the wax of the candle, and it holds it there against you as your body continues to smolder. And obviously at scale, that's your whole body, and maybe it goes up quickly because it's both feeding on your body while also burning your body, which is morbid.
Yeah, sounds gruesome.
Yeah. Oh, and then they're saying because the feet and the lower legs have so much less fat content than the rest of the body, that the fire simply runs out of fuel and stops. And in this case, I also do want to say, the woman whose foot I saw when I searched the case, she might have been sitting on her right foot. I do that all the time, and maybe that's why there was no right foot. But the left foot, it's not that there was clothes there, right? Maybe she was wearing a robe or some shorts or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I'm feeling my lower ankle right now, and it's bony as heck. But that's just me. But truly, that is definitely a more bony kind of area of the body, and so that makes sense.
That was a passing thought I had in the beginning of the episode. Was like, is it that the ankles don't burn because there's, I don't know, less something there or something like that?
It's definitely mostly bone. This guy right here, squeezing my own ankle. Not much to burn there, truly. It would basically be like when the candle gets at the bottom, and that's literally what's happening. When you have, there's wax there, but there's not enough. And so you're like, dang it, this candle smelled really good. This is a bad analogy. Let's move on. Yeah, that's really interesting. And so basically what they're saying is that, yes, there's just a normal source of the fire, and that a unique set of circumstances went into place to keep it localized, whether it be body composition or being inebriated in a way that you couldn't move around very much or reflect. Because that's another thing, right? The one woman we were talking about, Mary, she was taking barbiturates, and she had planned to take 2 more, and so she could have very much been out of it, right? Okay. Oh man, I didn't even process that till right now. Dang. Okay. Ooh.
This is starting to actually make sense. Oddly enough.
I'm like holding my cheeks, going like, oh my god, did we figure it out?
I can't quite fit all of it together. But I'm like, I feel like I have a bunch of pieces that make sense. Like they're a part of a set. I just don't know how the set comes together.
Right. I've seen the light, but I don't know how to get there. What's another interesting fact is right here, in 1998, there was an episode of QED. Dr. Dougal Drysdale illustrated this very same wick effect using animal fat wrapped in cotton. The fire burns very slowly and upwards, as you could imagine. But that was basically demonstrating why everything surrounding the body wasn't damaged, that it all went upward and that it was all localized because of that cotton. What's interesting is that there's a greasy residue that's caused by the burning body fat. And so if this greasy residue is common at these sites that people are, spontaneously combusting, that could go to add to this theory, right? That is the result of burnt body fat.
Right.
Wow, that's interesting.
It makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is making sense to me. Oddly enough, I'm like more and more. I don't feel like I'm crazy. I've been like, it kind of makes sense.
Right. But I guess, just looking at the study more, just reading a little bit more about it, it's saying here that the only thing counter to this wick effect, the only thing counter to this theory here is that the body, or the stand-in for the body here, wasn't totally cremated, and that the heat reached around 1.4 thousand to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in that range. Now, one thing that is worth mentioning when it comes to this experiment, though, because it is fascinating and it does demonstrate this phenomenon very well, it doesn't, however, I don't think, demonstrate how the body could be totally cremated. Because to do that, you need quite the temperature. And studies show anywhere between 1,400 and 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Celsius, I'm sorry, you're on your own. But the fat in this QED experiment did not burn to complete ash like one would suspect if it were a spontaneous combustion case. So, there is a little bit in this, some variables in play that don't necessarily align with what we're witnessing here.
Yeah, I think the hard thing is just like, it burns so hot that it burns the body to add. Like, that's so over the top.
Yeah. You know what I'm thinking? And I know it says here too, in our theories section, that, yes, it could be the alcohol or the medication or the age all combined that kind of prevent the victim from moving too much. But when you really think about it, and this is common with stuntmen, when they are doing fire, especially when they're lighting themselves on fire, they have to hold their breath or in some way look after themselves, because the fire will pull the oxygen from your lungs. It can really suck that out of you as it's consuming more oxygen than you are able to safely breathe. It's consuming all the oxygen around you.
Oh, that's crazy.
And so there is a possibility here that the reason why people fully cremate, and I'm just kind of spitballing.
Right.
They fully cremate because maybe they succumb. Not only do they not move because of barbiturates or medication or alcohol, or their age, but rather they incapacitate. They're knocked out, right? They pass out because of the lack of oxygen, or the smoke inhalation or whatever. And so they're actually unconscious. And then the fire just kind of finishes the job, unfortunately. Wow. That actually really all combines to make a lot of sense to me. Wow.
Dude, I could see yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
This is oddly enough making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't know how it all pieces together though, and there's some parts that are very wild, but I don't know, man.
Yeah. So those two theories I think are very strong. They actually give me a lot of comfort in a weird way of figuring out this phenomenon. And I feel like coming out of these two theories in particular that I know way more about what's actually going on here than I did otherwise. But as always, I would be remiss if I didn't address some of the other more fantastic theories that are out there. Theories, whether they were at the time historic theories or theories that maintain to this day that are actually kind of interesting in their own ways. But let's dive in. Obviously, some of the smaller theories include that this is murder, that these are cases of murder that are very unique and confined to these locations that have very strange results, obviously with the burning and whatnot, but many people think that these are just straight up cases of murder.
The thing about that is that the big time jumps in so many different, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's so precise and consistent throughout every case to sit here and say, well, this person knows how to do it, and then that person also knows how to do it hundreds of years later. And there's, we only talked about a handful of cases here, but there's about 200 some cases or whatever, and none of them, like, nobody slipped up somewhere.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's true.
That's what, like, and I'm actually happy that in my mind I'm ruling that out, and I could feel like I could comfortably rule that out.
Yeah. Especially, like we said before, especially when somebody who was staying over the night, the person who would be the suspect of murder, also passed away 2 weeks later. And I don't think that they were trying to say, this'll clear my name, and then they also pass away. I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, that's just a cursory glance. But another one that kind of goes weirdly hand in hand with this is divine intervention. That is, that a god or some other higher being stepped in some way. And this was very popular in the time of these happening, right? The historical ones. Newspapers like to publish that this was what was going on because, the further back in time you go, the more religious people tend to be. And so people are saying you're being judged. Right. You're living a life of debauchery filled with drinking, self-pleasure, whatever it might be. Or maybe because these people are living alone, people like start spreading stories about them. I don't know. But that was one of the popular theories at the time as well. One interesting one that I hadn't even properly thought about was that this is poltergeist activity. Now, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but when you think about what a poltergeist is, the paranormal investigators explain poltergeists as the physical manifestation of your outward emotions, right? That whatever it is, the entity, the ghost, or whatever, it's manifesting because of your outward emotions, and that this is the opposite of poltergeist behavior, in that something is manifesting internally because of what's going on with your emotions or what's going on in your life. And so that is to say that your thoughts can absolutely impact your surroundings as well as your internal. And maybe this is maybe an ability that people might have. I don't know, but it is an interesting theory. I'm not necessarily subscribing to it, but it's a way of describing this that I hadn't thought about.
I agree with you completely. It's a very interesting take on it. This is definitely in that category of like, okay, here are the very crazy over the top,
right?
Like theories of said episode.
Right. This is where you start to go, that is technically an explanation.
Yeah. Right. Like, okay. Yeah. You weave together a story,
right,
in your head that you can believe.
Right.
I see why you would believe it. It's a little out there for me though.
And I think, like there's some other explanations here that are more modern, right? That are inspired by The Matrix, for example, and that some people kind of take this as a glitch in the Matrix, that we are living in a simulation and that our consciousness is simulating this life in some way, and that there's a bug. That's all that it is, that there's truly a glitch in this simulation, and that causes us, whether we're a program or whatever, to combust, to be erased in some way.
All right. I mean, I would say that person probably has like a leather duster as well.
Oh, they have a leather, the clip-on sunglasses that clip to the bridge of your nose. Yeah. They got that mall ninja stuff. And they also probably explain everything with this same theory. This is one of those catch-alls. You're like, we're in the Matrix.
Yeah.
That explains everything.
Yeah, that's always the excuse. It's the Matrix. It's the Matrix doing this, it's doing that.
Something a little bit more fascinating that I actually kind of really find interesting is ball lightning. Ball lightning is another unproven phenomenon wherein small, sometimes even pea-sized balls of lightning that last longer than a typical lightning strike are flying around, floating around, and can interact with people by way of lighting them on fire or creating microwaves inside their bodies that energize much like an actual microwave would. energize your cells inside of you and create combustion in some way. Now, ball lightning is certainly an interesting phenomenon. I don't know if I would apply it here, but it's definitely something I think we should look at down the road.
Ball lightning.
I don't know much about it, but it's basically lightning in an orb. And it's like, instead of lightning going from one point to another point, cloud to sky, back and forth, the dissipation of energy, it's instead trapped for some unknown reasons, because it's all unproven, that the lightning gets trapped into a ball of some sort, lasts a little bit longer than a normal strike, which is instant, and then fizzles out. I don't know. I really don't know much about it.
That's a weird one.
And the last one it's very strange. And the last one I wanted to touch on was by an author named Larry E. Arnold. They theorized, okay, it's going to sound very smart until it doesn't. They theorized that there was a new subatomic particle existing in the body fat of humans called pyrotrons. And that simply, when a person is stressed and drinking alcohol, they are likely to combust. And there you have it. The explanation that is not an explanation. Basically saying, well, it happens.
I mean, there would be so many other cases.
Yeah. Find me that pyrotron and we'll talk.
So many other cases.
Yeah, oh yeah. I would have burst into flames in high school. Talking about stress. Okay, not drinking. I was straight edge. But no, talking about stress though, absolutely. My pyrotrons would have been all over the place. But that's interesting. I wanted to address it. It is out there. But there are a lot of very interesting, more out there theories. But in wrapping up, Fredo, how do you feel on these theories? Let's go back to our old scale, 1 to 10. I don't know if we did 0 to 10 or whatever, but 1 to 10, 1 being you don't believe it, not even for a second. 10, you're fully convinced. How are you feeling on any of these theories? And which one do you kind of lean on a little bit?
I mean, look, I'll throw down a... Oh, God. So my guy was going to tell me a 6, because originally I was like, it's like a 2. Come on. You're telling me like, and then this is the whole like, is spontaneous combustion within a human body a thing? I'd be like, nah, it's a 2. My gut tells me to give it, I've been telling you the way I feel throughout this whole entire episode.
Right.
I lean a little bit more towards it, so I can give it like a 6. But just the fact that like it does happen, this isn't like us listening to someone saying I saw this happen. It's
right,
like,
exactly.
People have died. There is actual
fires
evidence.
are happening, man.
I gotta lean towards like a 7 on it. I give it a little bit more.
Dang. Okay. Here's the thing. I just went instant gut check. I really like the chemical theory. I think that's where my old engineer brain wanted to go.
The chemical theory, if anything.
Absolutely. That's if you're subscribing to something happening inside, a chemical reaction or whatever, that spontaneous combustion exists. Now, I personally go with the Wick effect, and I give it a strong 9 because therein it basically says that it isn't spontaneous combustion, that there's actually an explanatory, there is a source of flame somewhere, and that for whatever reason, that's either not told, it's not noticed, it's not seen, that's starting the flame, and then the Wick effect takes over. That's kind of where I'm at, and that spontaneous combustion isn't in play. That we're not just like lighting up internally on fire by accident.
Right.
So I'm giving that Wick effect, like, I'm feeling like that's really strong. I wanted to say 9, but that's close to saying like that is it. But I'm up there. As far as the chemical thing, if assuming spontaneous combustion was a phenomenon that existed because something happened internally and we just lit on fire, then I'd be like, all right, it's chemical effects for sure.
Right.
But just as an idea, coming into all this, I was like, spontaneous combustion, I think it's just something that is unique, rare, and unexplained because of it. I don't think that necessarily it is something that happens, but it's very fascinating. I remember hearing about it when I was younger, but kind of haven't heard about it since. It's interesting.
Yeah. It was just really funny because, like I said, I never go into these episodes really knowing what we're going to get into. And when you were like, all right, we're going to talk about spontaneous combustion, my mind
like, what?
combusted. I was like, what? Are you talking about that fake thing in the movies?
And then we're going to talk about the Matrix.
This is a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah. This was really interesting. I'm really fascinated.
I like that you're throwing a bunch of just different things my way.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep you on your toes.
Like every week, I'm not, you know what I mean? I don't sit here and go, it's gonna be, an internet case or a murder or XYZ. It's so all over the place, but in like in a good way, because I don't know, it keeps it fresh for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as much as I say we, Christian and I, like, we really started all of this off with internet mysteries because I feel like that is a realm that is just deeply unexplored. Right. And I really like that kind of, as it were, new frontier of mysteries. And there's still a lot to dive into, but the internet's not as old as time itself. And so there's only so much to cover. There's only so many things that have enough meat on the bone to deliver here in the podcast. That's why we kind of do some compilation episodes that are some smaller ones that are still really fascinating. But I mean, I just really like mysteries in general. And and I really enjoy that you guys in the audience have really been resonating with all the different types of topics we've covered, because it's just fascinating, Fredo, you and I, to sit down and hash out some of these things that have, like, I think we have to do Bermuda Triangle at one point, because that's probably probably my gateway mystery.
Yeah, I feel like for a lot of people, that's where it started off.
Yeah, I remember in third grade, I distinctly remember this. It was third grade. They were showing us the 2000 election stuff on, I don't know why. I don't know if the teachers were just interested or if they were trying to educate us about the whatever. But I remember being distracted and talking to my friend. I was like, listen, when I get older, I'm going to sail into the Bermuda Triangle. Whatever happens, I'm going to see that thing. Whatever happens to me, if I get struck by this ethereal being who sucks me out of the world. I don't know. I was like, I just want to see. I want to see what the answer is, whether I make it out the other side or not. And that's another just teaser of where I'm going to take you. Maybe someday in the future, it's just going to send you out into the world, conquering these mysteries, just mano a mano, hand on hand. We're just going out there, physically tackling these mysteries.
Yeah, well, no. You keep trying to drive it home, and I'm getting further and further away from you. As
we are on the same page. I can feel it. We are both excited.
Be further.
Yeah, we're so far from home. We're out there where the mysteries are. I can feel it now. Yeah, History Channel. We're your guys.
I hate
just
this.
Two boys and a couple of mysteries. That's the name of the show.
You got one guy.
Got two guys, two confident boys. All right. Well, Fredo, thank you again for your lovely thoughts here on another mystery.
It always is.
Yeah. Everybody else, thank you so much for continuing to share the podcast. Word of mouth, always important. For leaving us those reviews on Apple, for hitting us up on roosterteeth.com, where you can comment on the episode that's uploaded there, and all that. Oh yeah, and we've got the merch out now, don't we? So yeah, if you want to support us directly, you can go to store.roosterteeth.com. But anyway, with all that out of the way, thank you guys again, and we'll see you all next week for another mystery. Are you a fan of video games, social deception, and reality shows? Introducing Survive Block Island, a reality competition show set in the world of Minecraft. I'm Trevor Collins, and I'll be hosting 12 of the greatest minds in video game entertainment as they compete in perilous challenges designed to test their skills and friendships, and maybe their internet connections. Competitors will face challenges and eliminations. Winners will be granted safety, while weaker links will be voted off one by one. Ultimately, only one person will survive Block Island. Watch Survive Block Island, available now by going to bit.ly/surviveblockisland.
This is a Rooster Teeth